Good morning, traders. Welcome. And guess what? Another Fed day. Will Jerome cut or at least make mentions of cuts coming down the line? That's all it's going to be focused on, of course. I don't think there is an actual cut coming, but one thing's for certain. We will be watching that conference to see if the pressure of Trump is really getting towards Jerome Powell. And how do you trade on a Fed day like a pro? We'll tell you about it right here on Trade the Pool today, guys. We'll take a look at the action. We'll be looking all around. We'll get to the playbook, the sunrise report, and of course, get to that trading action. You know you're at, guys. It's Trade the Pool. Let's keep things going. Let's take a look at what's going on in the market. We had a lot to come in here today, so we got to get through a lot of information here, guys. So the first thing we're going to do is talk a little bit about the overall market and talk about the economic data that came in this morning. We can get to that action. Let's kick things off here with that. Let's go ahead and share screen here so at least you guys can see the charts and see how the markets are moving. All right, of course, and this is a little sneak preview for what's coming up, but let's take a look here at the SPY, see how we were moving on the 1 minute. So we're going to go a little bit closer here, see how we reacted with these numbers. So we had an 815 number and we had an 830 number to talk about today. So let's get to those numbers and I'll give you guys those numbers. Like always, guys, you guys can take a look at these with many different services. We actually have a service for you guys as a part of our partners, Benzinga, right? Check out Benzinga. Of course, you guys know I was a part of Benzinga in the past. And I think it's definitely a really great place to get your news. So let's talk a little bit more about what came in here at 8:15. Of course, we got ADP non-farm employment to come in, and the expectations were 77,000. The number came in at 104,000. So not what you wanted to see there. So that definitely shook up the market a little bit there. And then GDP coming in at 3% versus a 2.5% estimate shows us how strong the economy is being during this time. So a little bit of conflicting noise. This is actually good news, right? So now I think this is actually going to help things go out. And look at Trump. Didn't I tell you guys he was going to come pout in the chest? This makes me feel really bullish about today as we're quickly flipping here. And you know how it is at the day trading space. We need to be quick on the flip. President Trump, second GDP, 3%, way better than expected. Too late, must now lower the rate. No inflation. Let people buy. Let people refinance their homes. Well, let's find out here, guys. All right, we'll see what happens. But I do think this could cause some up action in some names that I'm looking at, like Tesla. I still like to the upside, guys. It did do a nice little, like I talked about yesterday, would it do an inside day? It did do that inside day. So I take a look at this name. I'm taking a look at the SQQQ, at the TQQQ, the upside to some tech names today. I think that we're going to get a potential rally off of this. We'll see what happens. I'll be watching to see what happens towards the open. And I might take a shot here in the pre-market. But we got a lot to go through, man. So many earnings reports, you know, this economic data, and of course the big boys tonight. We'll talk more about that as we keep things going. What's up, Chase? Good morning to you, man. It's good to see you guys out there. What is the play? Let me just focus in a little bit here. What's the play today? Fear and greed is slipping down at all-time high streak. Yeah. So yesterday I actually called the downside move really good. I was looking for an early weakness part in the week. Now I'm looking for strength to come off of the backs of the big tech earnings. Now I think we need to be careful here because we're in that in-between day where we're going to get, of course, the interest rate conversation, Jerome talk, and then we'll get that. So today is a little bit of a back and forth. I think we are going to, at least I'm leaning towards more of a bounce back day, but I don't know if it's going to be a breakout type of day. I do think it's going to be a little bit choppy. So just be careful. You really got to stick to the names that are staying hot. And I did see momentum break down earlier in this week. The question is, does it come back to those names or does it go somewhere else? It can very easily, the money could be taken out and go somewhere else. We'll talk more about those types of names coming up, Chase. All right, let's keep going. We'll talk a little bit more about the overall market, but you guys can see it now. You're starting to get more lift in this TQQQ. You're starting to look at the Qs here. You're looking at that starting to lift. You can take a look at some of the names that have reported. We're going to go through some of those names coming up here. So let's get to the action. Let's go to the playbook. The playbook is all about giving you guys stocks and plays that you guys can be watching this morning. It's how I kick off the show. So smash that like for me, and let's get to today's playbook. All right, guys. So on the playbook, we got to be looking at different trades, right? So the first one up I'm going to talk about is a trade that I called earlier in the week that didn't really pay out to me. I tried to play the XLE. I think I called it pretty well, but it did pull back on me. It didn't get the biggest gain on this. Just got a kind of a really small haircut after it went into the green. But now looking to see if this can rise with XOM. So really want to see XOM and one of these kind of specific names start to take a lead. So if you look at this trend line over here, I think we're going to approach this trend line. I always talk about trend line approaches, how we can get towards the trend line. And that right there is not too far away. We're talking about a 2.6% move higher. So I do think that we're going to go ahead and make a move into, let's say, this circle here and start to push above. So this is going to be my way of targeting that area. And we'll look to see if we can get a breakout in XOM. And you could look at maybe like a Chevron continuing the breakout. This is one that I was actually trading that day and did look really good. It's holding the throwback look. If you actually look at this on the monthly look, it really doesn't look too bad. It looks like an undercut and now could rally. We'll see what happens there in oil names with XOM and others. All right, let's keep going. Of course, let's go to a name that I had a report on. Of course, it had the earnings last night, and I think things are starting to turn around here. As much as I hate Starbucks, and I'll be as honest as I can, I've been calling the demise on Starbucks for a little while now. This is really holding this long-term trend line. I actually drew this back on I created this originally on September 12th, 2024. So this line just keeps getting defended. And so as long as this line gets defended, I think that we got to continue to look to see that Starbucks can bounce right back up and now start to push right back to where it was around this 115. I think $100 is in play today. Right now, you're kind of grinding up. I might look for a quick red to green, but this actually looks good to see upside come off of this. Another thing would be to take a look at Dutch Bros. Dutch Bros is expanding, and I'm looking to see if this can continue. This does have earnings coming up, so maybe they can start to change the trend right before the earnings. This does have multiple bottoming look right now, a couple of bottoms right there. I really like to see it closer towards the 62, but we'll see what happens with Dutch Bros. All right, let's keep going in the playbook. Let's go to the last one here on the playbook. We're going to go to a play that's based off of bookings report, which we'll talk a little bit more about, but there was some negative in there that's causing me to think, what about a short now on the airlines? Has they been extended, or maybe even the cruise lines? I'll just be as honest as that. Royal Caribbean setting up for a play also to the downside. So it's all about leisure turning back to the downside with bookings report. When you get some of these market leaders to start reporting, it's very important to focus on what is going to happen because of it, right? What are the consequences from these reports? It really does put downside pressure on names like DAL that we're starting to create a bull flag here and we're looking to go higher, right? So we'll see what happens with these names. Can they continue to drop? I think they could, especially with this report. You're seeing around there Expedia, names like that starting to drop. Hilton kind of pulling back a little bit. Even Airbnb pulling back off of this. So we'll see if maybe we catch another ride up. Yeah, we could get going. But there's a lot of shorts that seem to be at least on the setups today. So a lot of this is going to have to depend more onto the open to see what happens here. Do we continue to struggle and then we rip higher later in the day? Something to look at. All right. And the Trump, of course, saying that the Fed must now lower the rate. Well, I don't think they'll lower rates today, just to say that. But hey, let's keep going. We'll take a look to see what happens in other plays. Of course, you guys know I like Tesla to the upside. AMD is finally going red. Yeah, has a red candle. Can you believe it, guys? I think this might start to pull back, kind of like how you got this day, right? Where you were starting to turn and then you got kind of that bull flag look. I think you could have that bull flag look where today could be maybe that day where we're starting to pull back a little bit. then you could have a little pop and then kind of that pullback towards the 9 EMA. But it looks like that's on a little bit of a pullback. That could also tell me to be careful with an NVIDIA pullback today. If it doesn't break above the 178, goes towards the 180s, it could be coming back towards maybe around 170 for a reload. We'll find out on these big tech names. It's going to be interesting to watch. Another name that I'm watching for potential shorts, Zillow Group, has been really kind of pushing strong here. I don't know why this is pushing strong. I know some people expect some rate cuts coming this year. I know I'm not in that camp. And one thing I can tell you about Zillow is that I've been on Zillow because I've been looking at some houses, and the supply is starting to get pretty high on Zillow. And that tells me more and more that this is a seller's market versus a buyer's market. And we got to be careful out there. I think this could come crashing right back down. So another play to look for potential downside. All right, we'll see what happens, and maybe there's some upside play out there. We'll talk about more of it in the Sunrise Report. Let's keep it moving. Let's go to the Sunrise Report and talk about what stocks are moving today and why. Of course, there was tons of earnings reports, so if there's a specific name you want to talk about, now's your opportunity. Throw it up in the chat now. Let's go. Let's get it going, guys. Let's check out the Sunrise Report. Right, in the Sunrise Report today, we'll be talking about how the stock futures edged higher early on Wednesday. But of course, investors are navigating through a busy day of corporate earnings, economic data, and the much anticipated, of course, FOMC, Federal Reserve rate decision. We'll see what happens there, as there are some pre-market movers to take a look at. But let's get to these kind of bigger reports, of course. We'll be watching all eyes on Powell today to see what happens there with the conversation. Of course, investors are awaiting this Fed rate decision. The market is assigning a 98% probability that the central bank will hold these rates steady at 4.25 and 4.5, according to the CME Fed Watch. After the decision, focus will shift, though, of course, to Jerome Powell and its press conference, and where traders hope for clues, of course, whether a rate cut is on the table for September. Things will be, of course, complicating this matter as President Trump and allies have renewed pressure on the Fed to lower the borrowing cost ahead of the election season. China, of course, and trade talks are stumbling here as the market was weighing down on Tuesday by signs of trouble in the U.S. and China trade negotiations. U.S. negotiators said that a pause on new tariffs was still pending final approval from President Trump, adding the uncertainty of the global trade landscape. Another thing to mention is that Trump was saying this morning that the first was going to be the end. So we'll see what happens. Guess what tomorrow is, guys? August 1st. So we'll find out a lot of more about the tariffs and especially about the conversation with China tomorrow. I think so. I don't even think we'll find out today. Economic data coming today. We'll see what happens. We did get that ADP, that GDP, and then you'll get pending home sales. Nothing that I feel too much kind of really moved the markets, but it did give us a little bit of a spike there. Gave us the ability, I think, to come bouncing back. Let's go to Starbucks, our first real earnings report that we'll dive into. Let's get to that action and take a look here at the charts. All right, guys. So when we're talking about Starbucks here, it's still looking pretty decent here. It is starting to push higher. I've talked about how I'm taking a look to see if this can get back above the 99s, maybe make a move to 100 today. The shares rose 4% after the company beat expectations with a 9.5 versus a 9.31 billion estimate. The same store sales still declined negative 2% globally, but U.S. results came in better than feared. So this is starting to show a little bit of a turnaround here. Of course, the CEO coming from Chipotle, kind of helping things out here, changing things up. If we look at the EPS, it's at a 50-cent adjusted versus a 65-cent expected, but unclear if this is a comparable number here, just because the adjusted outlook. No, North America same-store sales fell 2% versus a negative 2.5% expected. China's first same-store sales growth in 6 quarters, up 2%. So finally, a little bit of a bounce back there in China. Turnaround plans are focusing on hospitality, fewer new cafes, green apron service, and new product innovations coming by 2026. All right, we'll see what happens on that one. Things like protein cold foams, coconut drinks, reward, refresh. Nicole says that Starbucks has received interest from 20 plus buyers for a stake in its China business, which could be valued up to $10 billion. This is the big thing, I think, here to look at, guys. If they do get that sale, I think Starbucks is going to go actually higher on that. So continue to watch to see how Starbucks can move. I think they are trying to sell that China exposure, and they're going to use that to try to grow here in the US. So, hey, wait and see. We'll find out what happens here in the Starbucks story. Let's keep going out of Starbucks. Let's go now to Visa as they beat expectations, but no fireworks here. If anything, it got hit hard. EPS coming in at $2.98 versus a $2.85 expected. So a nice little beat there. Revenues at $10.17 billion versus a $9.84 billion expected. So a good beat. They also reaffirmed the full year 25 guidance for low double digit net revenue growth, which may have underwhelmed investors looking for stronger outlooks. Honestly, this is more of a situation where it just might have been the wrong day to report. Definitely taking the hit after hours. Humana with a healthy beat, a surprising beat there as that's starting to bounce back. And we started to see a lot of volume coming into healthcare plans yesterday. So maybe this is finally the bottom for Humana, as you now really have some bottoming on this chart. I even am starting to get a little bit interested in this trade. But of course, with a big bar like this, you need to start coming back some. So I'd be looking for a move back to the 9 EMA or waiting for the 9 EMA to catch up with the price action so that I can join the show. We'll see what happens here in Humana. The EPS is at $6.27 adjusted versus $5.92 expected. The revenues at $32.39 billion versus a $31.89 billion expected. They also raised their full year guidance across the board. Let's go to Caesars as we take a look into the casino life. As we go to CZR, let's take a look at that stock, as that stock is kind of getting a little bit of a lift as of late, but really not getting off the ground, really kind of just hanging in here. Let's talk about the earnings here. They reported a surprise Q2 loss of 39 cents a share, missing the estimates for a 5-cent profit. So really ugly news here for Caesar. And I think this is going to actually knock them down, right? This looks like a kind of a fade off of this. It kind of just tweaked above this, stopped some people out at that 31. Now it looks like it wants to tumble. This doesn't look good for Caesar or other names in the resorts and casinos. But of course, this has a little bit more exposure towards more Las Vegas. We'll see if it starts to come down towards the 24 and further down, actually. Mondelez, let's go to that one. MDLZ. We talking some Hershey's. Let's get to that action. Sweet and sour. Not Hershey's. Hershey's is the actual company. Mondelez is, I think it's kind of, this is how bad I am with candy. I think it's Mars. There you go. Mars candy, right? So your Snickers, your things like that. Let's see what happens here in Mondelez. Sweet and sour, EPS and revenues both beat. They reaffirmed 25 EPS decline of 10%. Organic revenue, though, expected to grow 5%. The shares were falling 3% in pre-market. This is one of those where I'd take a look at it towards October or September, just because it has a tendency of running into the Halloween time, but we'll see what happens here in MDLZ. I'm sure this company has tons of effects with tariffs and things like that, so something you got to be thinking about. Let's go to Hog. Let's go to the Hog, the pig, right? Harley Davidson. Getting a nice little bounce, and this looks like a bottoming here. So I think this could actually have a little bit of a stronger move today, and it's holding in. You can see a nice little push. It just pushed off of that $25 spot. I'd look for a pullback to that $25 spot to play today, but we'll see what happens here. EPS at 88 cents versus $1 expected. Revenues at 1.4 billion versus 1.1 billion expected. The tariff cost the company 13 million in Q2. Announced a $5 billion loan sale to KKR and PIMCO, unlocking 1.25 billion in cash. So I think this has to do with the tariffs. They're expecting higher costs, so they want to be able to control that. They went out and got a loan, so that's going to help them, of course, continue to grow. We'll see what happens there, but it also shows that the tariffs are affecting car companies, auto companies, and in this case, a recreational vehicle company. All right, guys, we'll see what happens with that conversation. Let's keep it going here. The final word, of course, earnings are in full swing. We can take a look at some other names that had earnings. So if you guys want to talk about that, we can. We can talk about how SoFi had an offering, things like that. Let me know in the chat what you guys want to talk about. Don't forget, you guys run the show also. And tomorrow is July 31st. Sorry, Vic. I did say that it was tomorrow. It'd be the following day. It'd be Friday, right? And so we'll see what happens with that. But let's go ahead. Let's get the show started here, guys. We'll be kicking things off and getting towards the trade action. There's a lot to talk about, right? So if you guys got an earnings report that maybe I didn't talk about, you want to go through it, hey, throw it up in the chat. We'll definitely get to it. Sorry about that July 31st mention. But hey, we're right there for the first. I think we'll get some more news. Will a China deal happen? I don't know, man. Those are the things that I've been thinking about, at least right now. We'll take a look at that. China coming down today, and I think a part of that is that news that it just didn't look like the deal was going to happen anymore, or at least an extension of the deal. I don't know what's going to happen with China right now. I don't even think Trump knows right now. So we'll see what happens here, guys. Let's keep going. We'll get to the show. We'll get to some trade ideas. A lot of stocks also moving, like Lending Club we can talk about. LC, big move there, guys. That's up to 1650. The Wingstop, get your wings now before they're out, because it looks like Wingstop looks like they ran out of the chicken or something, because this thing is ripping. We'll see what happens there. Up higher. And there's some other names that we can look at. I'll be watching the scanners to see what else we can point to. And we'll see if some other ones get going here. Fubo TV getting a little lift there. Did they have earnings or something? I have no idea. No earnings on that. Who knows? Maybe a little Fubo action starts to get hot. Look at the volume traded yesterday. This tells me where we look at names, right? So if this wants to trade 50 plus million shares, it's definitely on the radar today. I'll put an alert here for 394, see if it starts going towards yesterday's range. All right, that's going to do it, at least for the beginning part of the show. It's time to kick things off into the trading side. Let's start that countdown and start the show for real. Let's get to the trading side. Hugo wants 200, baby. You ready to get back to the trading action?
You aim, you shoot, and make money.
It's going to be a great day. You guys know where you're at. What up out there, traders? How we doing? Let's bring on the man. What's going on, Michael?
Oh, it's a good time to be wings and coffee are both ripping. I'm looking
Wings
at my
and
chart,
coffee, baby. I'll tell you one thing. They can bring all the coffee they want today for me. I had one of those nights where it was just up every 2 hours. But hey, that's just what it is, guys. We'll keep it rolling.
Dad life.
Yeah. So that also tells me one thing, right? Like, I know I'm not sharp today. So should I be looking for fast trades? No. I should be looking for slow trades, something that I can be a little more methodical in, not just trying to snap in, snap out right now, especially when I'm not feeling sharp. And this is very important. I feel like some traders don't ask themselves how they feeling in the morning, right? Do I feel sharp? Do I feel like I'm on point? Because there's that flows, right? There's times where you feel like you're really tuned in with the markets. You're seeing levels, everything's almost aligning, and then you always hit a rut. It can be because of trading, it could be because of your personal life, but you really got to catch these moments, be the observer, and slow down a little bit, and then get ready, because the gas pedal will come back. It always comes back. There's always opportunities, guys. And I feel like this is the time where a lot of traders sometimes hit gas pedals when they're in that rut versus what they should be doing, taking a little bit of a pause. Things were really good for a little while there. A lot of traders were making good money because the markets were just going up higher, right? So a lot of people say like those are like the get lucky markets, because really if you were longing, probability is you were probably making money. So you're getting to this point where it's not just easy money. And I'm even seeing those trend traders saying, hey, let's take a little pause. Let's focus in on the setups. Let's really hone in on some things. and to get back to the markets. And today could very much be that day that they swing it back, right, Michael? It felt like the first 2 days of the week, they were kind of just putting us in low land, kind of shaking us a little bit, shaking the bulls at least. Hey,
Well, I think they're going to do the same thing, right? I think that's what
keep
we're up for
shaking them.
today. Well,
Yeah,
we've got, no earnings we really cared too much about, right? Starbucks and,
yeah.
some other names, Wingstop, whatever. But we've got the big guys. We've got
Oh, yeah.
Microsoft, Google, Robinhood, or something like that tonight, I think. Yeah, tonight. And then we've got FOMC at, the normal FOMC time. So that's 2 Eastern. So we talk about it all the time, right? When there's an event that's right in front of you, quite often you get really kind of whippy and choppy action, which doesn't
Yep.
mean don't trade. It just means, understand that you should probably be buying dips, selling rips. You probably shouldn't be chasing breakouts, breakdowns, that kind of thing, if that's what's going to happen. And yesterday, I think, was a pretty perfect example of that, where if you look at the chart from yesterday, essentially everything just happened right in like minutes, right? And so if we go to like a 2-minute chart, you had a whole lot of nothing and then a huge move and then a whole lot of nothing and then so on and so forth. But we continued our streak of no 1% move on the market. Like a 1/4% down is the most that they could muster. So
That's it.
and it all happened, like, if you weren't right here, then pretty much nothing happened for the rest of the day. So unless you were positioned going into it, and this is again what I kind of foresee happening today, is that you're going to get these whipsaw kind of crazy moves, and then J Pow is going to be done talking, and then the market can kind of go. But then at the same time, we have all those earnings reports. So
There was one guy positioned at that time. Your boy, Money Mitch. At least I was
the
able to remember. I was talking about it on stream as we ended. I was down like 138 because I had taken several shots at that trade.
mhm,
That one trade at the end there made me plus 400, right? So I got out there at 4180s on the VXX when it spiked.
mhm.
But that's what trading is a lot of the time, at least for day trading. It's a lot of it is being able to take some haircuts, really looking for the trend, right? Because
Yep.
if you can't get that trend, a lot of times you're not going to get that 4-to-1 return. Let's be honest. You're going to have to look for more 1-to-1 trading, and 1-to-1 trading, if it's for you, by all means, go for it, right? But for me, a lot of the times I'm looking for some type of range expansion. And so part of that is looking for those 4-to-1 looks, but making sure that our risk is downsized enough that if we take 2 or 3 haircuts, we're not just done for the day, right? That's
Well,
able to do. Yes.
in a big way, a lot of traders that I know, that when we're in areas like this, what they're doing is they're just setting out orders and waiting,
Hmm.
right? So, instead of trying to guess the direction, they're just saying, okay, if, for example, here on the SPY, they just put out like a stop entry order at the low of the day, right?
Yeah.
We get through there, and then they're doing other things for trading, like journaling and all of this very important stuff, and they're just waiting. And as soon as they hear a ping and there's a position in their account, they go, okay, now let me deal with and manage this now, as opposed to trying to kind of finagle that. And it's both teach their own. It's up to you, just whether or not you want to trade environments that could be kind of detrimental. So for me, as always, I'm just turning on the bot, and the bot is doing a lot of mean reversion right now, so I'm kind of trying to fine tune those strategies. So I'll be buying the dips, selling the rips, and then if you take a look at what's going on tomorrow, because not only that we've got another bigger earnings or news event tomorrow, and then we have a whole bunch of earnings tomorrow that we need to keep
Yeah.
an eye on as well.
And
So
tonight, right? I mean,
yeah,
tonight really kicks things off, right? I mean, Microsoft
Microsoft,
will,
Meta, Hood,
yeah, Hood
right?
and
These three alone are big, and then tomorrow it's Apple and Amazon. So some other massive earnings going on there as well.
yeah, I know people are paying attention to the Fed day today, and it should be paid attention to. But honestly, I'll just be as clear as I can. I don't think we're gonna have barely any reaction off of that Fed.
No, it will be the same as always, because if you go, to the, and again, you just saw me Google it. You can always look at
Yeah, you can
the
just
Fed
look
rate tool,
CME.
right? There's a
Yeah.
97% chance that nothing happens.
Yeah, and we know when
And
it's in the 90s, usually it's just the decision's been made.
yeah, and then so it's really just about one of those. There'll be some movement
It's
when it
just
comes
conference
out.
talk. It's just, can anyone
That's the big
get
thing.
Jerome to break in a question?
Yeah,
Can
and
they get
then
him to even show hinting of wanting to cut?
the guy's been he's such a pro at this. I don't think
Yeah,
they're doing anything. And
literally,
this,
they try to do it every time, but he stays on it. But one thing I think is important too is that he's adjusted a little bit, because he used to just really be data dependent. He doesn't have data here. He's been more saying that he's waiting for data, right? And I think that that's the one thing that he'll just continue to push on. It's now, oh well, the tariffs are almost finished, like things like that are still in play here.
mhm.
So he's not going to go anywhere, guys. It's the earnings tonight, I think, that matter the most, because if Microsoft disappoints, well, we could be down tomorrow, guys. But if Microsoft can beat, and I expect to beat Microsoft, we can talk a little bit about the earnings outlook, right? I think it's very important. We'll talk a little bit more about it, but just kind of taking a quick look. If I take a look, revenue has beat the estimate 15 times in the last 17 quarters. If you look at EPS has beat the estimate 16 times in the last 17 quarters. So, in my
Oh,
eyes, to expect a miss here would be a little bit off, right? I mean,
well,
so
but so I always look at it and saying, I know we just use these like beat miss as shorthand or whatever, but is it really that Microsoft beat, or is it just the analysts suck? Need to like, do the analysts miss?
yeah,
Like it's because
yeah.
it's a bunch of dudes in a room that are trying to guess what Microsoft makes. So it's like a beat, but like really, or do you just, if you beat that much, do you suck like as an analyst? I could see like you miss something here or there, but
Mhm.
especially something as followed as Microsoft, where there's got to be a lot of
No, let's just be
ways to look
honest.
at,
Let's
right?
be honest. There's also a little bit of some conflict here, right? Because these analysts are in hands with these companies. They talk to these executives every single day. So to tell you the truth, they have a tendency of underrating their estimates so that they can beat the bar. If they beat the bar, that makes them look good. I'll just be honest like that, right? Um, a lot of people say the analysts are lemons for a reason. They follow, they get paid to do this stuff, guys. So I think there's always a conflict of interest there. But my thing is more okay. So if as long, and this goes to like something that you tell me to, Michael, as long as the money's climbing, things are looking better,
That's it,
right?
right? So that's, you want to see why Microsoft goes up, so they're making more money, right? That's what,
Look, you can see it right here,
yeah.
right? Q3 of 21, they were making 41 billion, now expected to make 74 billion, right?
Mhm.
So, yeah, you nearly double your revenue, you're going to go up in stock appreciation, right? So these are things that I think are important. I don't like to necessarily bet on earnings off of that number, like that it beat it, but it leans me towards how the market could react, right? And that's
The
what's more to me.
the
Odds
only
are
bets
that it
I'm
could be a little
interested
bit
on,
more positive.
yeah, the only bet I'm interested on earnings, because again, everything's been tested. Do they beat often? Does that mean they go up? Right? These are so many easy things
Hmm.
to test. It's the easiest quant stuff to run.
Yeah.
And the only edge that people have found consistently over time in earnings bets is volatility selling. Is that whatever people are buying insurance for is too
Hmm.
much. And by selling calls and puts around that, generally speaking, and it's one of those, picking pennies in front of the steamroller strategies where you'll be right 80-90% of the time. You just got to be okay with getting smacked every now and then, which again is great. There's tons of people who become multimillionaires doing that. It just becomes a very disciplined game of never getting too big, because you can't have that hit take you out of the game. And you got to think about it. It's like how casinos work, right?
Yeah.
Casinos make, a little tiny gain every time. Like on roulette is a perfect example. Every now and then, casinos gonna have to pay millions of dollars on roulette, but they know because there's a slight like 49.5% edge, right? That 5% of the double zero over time will make money. And that's the same thing. If you're betting into earnings, that's really the only consistent bet you can make. In my opinion, anything other than that is just gambling until we get these 24-hour markets. Then I think that you could probably find some interesting day trading strategies where you'll be able to use limits and stop limits and targets and all of that, and have some sort of momentum strategies that you could chase, or mean reversion strategies or something like that with earnings. But when the markets close, it just gets so hard. Liquidity gets so insane.
Agree. And I do know traders that trade it, but I can tell you right now, it's because they're faster than I can, and they can do certain things that I can't do, guys. So I don't even try it anymore. I remember when I was younger, I used to try it. I used to be like, oh no, well, I'll take a bet on this one just to like kind of test. I've done enough of those tests, guys. It's no fun trying to trade earnings. It's even less fun as an investor just waiting for earnings to come out, right? Unless you're really far from the action, you're usually really feeling the but maybe I should get out before the report, or and then the report comes. Oh man, you start slapping your head. Well, that's the thing with investing, right? And that's why you can't always put, like, when you're investing, you don't load up everything in that one spot. And I think that those types of things are the important things. When you're thinking in earnings, I think that's more for investor conversation than trader talk. What you want to be seeing is more, hey, how are the fundamentals looking here, right? And then watch for price action to actually follow fundamentals, not necessarily the opposite way. I look for like good earnings, and then like we can talk about it with SoFi. SoFi is an interesting story, right? Because it did have really decent earnings, but then came out with an offering, right? So it's doing a little bit of a mix here, right? It's going to have a negative reaction because of the offering, right? But the earnings are great, right? So as an investor, do you stay in this thing? As an investor, more than likely, if it was me, I'd be staying in it. But as a trader, you got to know to get out, right? Because if not, you just got pounded, right? You were up. You probably swung this from, let's say, 21. You were up off of the earnings. You were up, let's say, 17%, and then now you're in the red.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and it's unless that they're going to do that. And this is one of the things that I'm so pumped for with 24-hour markets. Say you had a trailing stop on that after earnings, you would have got dinged out
rather than looking in it today, right? And
waking up and going, damn, I didn't know that they were gonna. They didn't send me a memo saying that they were going to raise money, and there's nothing I can do about it. Again, it's one of the things. I love crypto markets for that very reason. Is that if I put out a stop loss or an entry stop, I don't need to watch the thing, right? If I'm saying get in if it gets to this price, get out if it gets to that price, my phone will alert me. So I wake up and I say, oh, you were stopped out of your Bitcoin position. I go, okay. On to the next thing. Same with some currencies, some future stuff that I do. When the rest of the market catches up, it's great because, how bummed would you be? Right? They had a great earnings report. The chart looks amazing. The trend looks great. You couldn't have predicted that they were going to, pull the rug on you here. And you wake up and they did. You go, damn. So now,
but
I've
it also
gotta
doesn't mean
give it all
that
back,
the
right?
stock is done. It just means in the short term, it could be in a pullback, right? Because an offering
Imagine.
is not necessarily a long-term negative thing. It's just a short-term negative thing, unless they're going to use the money to keep diluting you. But you got to know what they're doing it for, right?
Well, and it's like, so imagine if you had gotten the markets for 24 hours, you had some sort of trailing stop going on. You got stopped out at a pretty decent price. Well, you're not waking up today bummed. You're waking up today saying, well, I made a bunch of money last time. Maybe if we drop today, I could do a little reload. And that's kind of what I'm looking at, because I love this. Like, I've got the super long-term chart. I love it's hit now 24 3 times.
But
right? Like, so I love through this price. I don't own any SoFi right now, but
But
now that
now on a pullback, I think you and
maybe
I will be opened eyes. Like,
right, so
come
we get
back.
back, like we get back to the, I don't know, 18, 19, like this prior high. We find dig in
And the
there.
funny part is, I was gonna say the 50 EMA, and for me, it's 1795. So for
Yeah,
you to say 18, well, yeah, come back to 18, slightly
yeah,
undercut that
just
18, and give us an opportunity to jump on it.
get me this zone right here. So that's why, again, I'm very much excited. And we talked about this yesterday, where there's more exchanges. So this boats
The boats,
exchange.
maybe.
This was you could have had a stop loss and a profit target and everything
Yeah.
in this. Now the liquidity right now is garbage, but I think that will change over time as things start to expand out. And these are only one of them, right? There's going to be 3 or 4 different uh, at least, right? Because I know the NYSE and the Nasdaq have applied, but on top of this and around them, there's like 3 or 4 different things that are coming up. So we've got Robinhood tokenizing everything. The more it's one of those liquidity begets liquidity. As long as you can market make in some sort of automated fashion, then liquidity skyrockets. And again, we can start to trade 24 hours, which I know the discretionary traders are bummed about. I'm pumped. Just the idea of having a bot just running 24/7, 365. I just got to check up on it once a day. That's the whole make money while you sleep.
Yeah. The charter was the real starter. It was a
Yeah.
long wait time thing. It had been talked about since literally the SPAC days. So now we got a high flyer right now. Just showed up on the charts there and the scanners there. SupX, Super X AI. This one has the name of all the names to make it pump, but it's pumping. The funny part, it's in engineering and construction. So I need to look a little bit further what this company
Oh,
actually does. But
sup.
SupX, SupX,
Sure.
SupX, SUPX.
Farcoin Treasury. This is a weird, weird daily chart.
Yeah,
Oh, my daily
weird.
chart looks different than yours. It's
Yeah.
weird. This is what TradingView is showing, where it had something, and then it looks like maybe a buyout, and then a gap down. So yours looks a little
Maybe
different.
maybe it's a SPAC. Maybe it's a SPAC. So the SPAC would take off
Yeah,
that other stuff.
repurposed name for sure.
Yeah,
I just want to
something
get
happened to where
this
this
question
is more the
quickly.
starter. Let's get to it. Let's get to it here.
Yeah, can we use your system to automate with trade the pool accounts? No, but what I'm doing is I'm teaching you guys to build your own systems for trade the pool accounts. So in August, I think is the planned release date. With that, there's going to be a course that I've recorded and they're editing now that will come out. We're going to do a couple webinars. I'm going to do some webinars sometimes, I think, where maybe the trading show is done or maybe a half hour before we're done, and we're just going to go and get Mitch doing some automated trading and walk through that process so you guys can see that as well. So there'll be a lot of education, but when it comes to the systems that I use, they use like 5 different platforms, and it's something that that's a bigger deal. But again, I'm going to
Yeah.
teach you guys to
Stay
build your
tuned.
own.
Stay
So,
tuned, guys. And
uh,
I have an idea for a giveaway. I want to ask Michael first, but it's
ooh,
going to be a good one
okay.
for you
I'm just
guys out
excited to
there.
get Mitch as a quant. You're gonna have to get some glasses. You're gonna,
Just put the goggles on.
I'm gonna nerd you out a bit.
Yep.
Sorry.
Yep. No worries. I could get some of the fake ones. Some fake glasses.
Yeah, for
Right. Look
sure.
all smart. You know, like the guys that
The,
wear the fake glasses. They're
the
actually guys that wear fake glasses.
yeah, that's like stolen valor, man. Come on. Like I've had these things since I was like 10 and I hate them.
Right? It's like, dude, now you're wearing fake ones, bro.
Just to look important. But yeah,
Just
it will
looking for
be
it.
it'll be super exciting when
That sub X. Be careful, guys. I saw that spread just go 211
oof.
points, like ticks. So just be careful with that one.
Yeah,
That's as illiquid as can be there.
I'm pumped for this
Oh,
kind of stuff because you could even have traded this thing. Right? I'm just looking at the kind of VWAP to VWAP move it
yeah,
might be putting in.
it's a crazy one, and I think this could keep running. But when it goes from like 22 to 19 really quickly, and that spread in the pre-market is just tough. Tough to trade in the pre-market. Maybe in the open market when we get a little bit more volume in this name.
Well, yeah, and I've been working on some ways to automate as well, right? So in the pre-market, which you could, in theory, with TrendSpider, which is kind of interesting. I was talking to their CEO because, as you guys know, and if you don't know, please hear my words. Stop orders don't work in the pre and the post market, right? And
What?
that's very important. I know we get a lot of questions about, hey, why didn't my stuff fill in the pre-market? That's not a trade the pool thing, right? With your regular broker, knows that's the way it works. But
Yeah.
if you use limit orders in clever ways and you have maybe a robot watching the price to say, hey, send a limit order to get me out when we reach that price, there's more that you could potentially do in the pre-market. So I've been talking to a couple guys who are quants or system traders like me who only trade the pre-market now, and they've just found clever ways to, right, have the robot check constantly, right, is it at that price, and then if it is, it's a way to like have a stop loss order, which Mitch would like, that isn't live in the market, so you don't, right? So for the tinfoil hat users, it just kind of is watching that price and sends out an order when that price is hit, as opposed to, right,
I
having it exist there.
actually prefer those one, because one of the things that you can start doing is that can stay on more of an internal server than a you see me server, right?
Yeah, TrendSpider will hold it for you, and it won't ever hit the marketplace until that price is reached.
So you get what I mean by that, right? And I think that that's very important within itself, guys, because that's the problem, I think, really with stops, is just that you're so targeted by, high frequency traders and market makers. And I think those are the type of things we need to be thinking about in the long run.
Yeah, and Rando's right. There is 24-hour trading, like Robinhood. You can do it. Interactive brokers, but no, you need dedicated exchanges. So what Robinhood's doing, and this is why I don't know if you were trading when, or remember when Roaring Kitty came back, and he started posting, and then like they would shut down trading for like GameStop. It's because there's no dedicated exchange. What they're doing is they're just a market maker is just taking the order and taking the risk of the overnight move. And that's the same
trying
thing
to make money on their people. Let's be honest.
That's why their stock's hitting all-time highs, right?
They're like, guys, keep trading, please. Go give us more money.
Once there are dedicated exchanges, then you can do things like direct order routing to the exchange itself, and you're not just getting held by some arbitrary market maker. And like everything, the more competition there is in anything, the better it is for the consumer. That's why I'm excited for when all of them get in. And you better believe the New York Stock Exchange and the NASDAQ wouldn't have gotten into this game if like Steve Cohen and some of those guys didn't open up their own exchange. They kind of forced their hand, because it's going to cost the NASDAQ money. There's probably not going to be that much more volume done on their exchange. They're not going to make that much more money, but now they have to have 24-hour servers. They're going to need to have staff overnight. So it's going to cost them. So it just took a couple people to say, hey, if you're not going to do it, we're going to do it. And then, push it out and go from there. So
all right. I did see a question that I wanted to answer. I waited a little bit. Sorry about that, Ethan. Just wanted to make sure I got to it here before the show started here. So here you guys have it. If you're wondering about different partners that we have, and when we make that mention, right, what it is that as you get some of the fun, the evals that are not the smallest package, the one up, right, from the smallest package, you'll be able to get a partner for 1 month, right? It's really a way of us kind of giving you tools to test out so that you can find what works for you, right? And like always, we're pretty much telling you also that we don't have every tool in the book, because no one has every tool in the book, right? There's people that specialize in different areas. So like I always say, have multiple tools in the tool belt that you can have to pull on, right? But just find what tools work for you. So whether it be trade ideas, right? Yeah, you can get trade ideas for a month and check that out and use scanners, things like that, right? There's TrendSpider for charts and stuff. There's Bookmap for understanding dark pools and heat maps and liquidity and order flow. There's specializations for so many, right? Or like how you'll hear Michael always talk about, I do you use Trader Review or?
Yeah, I do. That's where I journal.
Trader Review. So a journal. right? There's so many tools, guys.
And I think it's great too, because if you're a starting trader, it's really important to try to keep your costs as low as possible, because you're going to fail evals, blow up accounts. If you're trading your own account, it's probably not that big and it's probably not making you that much money. So, to keep costs low, to say, hey, I can buy an eval account and then get one of these while I'm trading that eval account, I think that's great. And then if you find that it's, when you pass your eval, you just take a hard, long think and you say, well, was that imperative, right? Did I
Mhm.
absolutely need that thing? And again, from the order of things that I think all traders need is
Yeah.
a journaling software should be
Oh yeah.
number one. And then number two, charts, right? If you're a basic charting, right? Obviously, Trader Evolution has charts and they're perfectly fine. They're perfectly good. Nerds like me want more advanced chartings. And then it comes into, scanners and things like that. But that's the way I trade. You may absolutely need scanners, because you might be one of those people who are looking for the thing moving on the fly, where I
Yeah.
have all my trading planned out the night before. So yeah, sit. And when you pass, finally go, did I need this thing? And then if so, then buy it, right? And
Yeah. Does it make me money?
right.
I that's my question. That should be the question too. Can it make me money? Can it help me make money? Right. That's that. You guys see me use TC because I'm always able to judge the market in a lot of areas on one page. I love that functionality, right? And that
Mhm.
within itself, I'll pay for that alone. Even if I didn't have this charting and just had these scanners, the way that they work, probably still pay the monthly fee that I pay.
Yeah.
So find what you are willing to pay for, what tools help you, what make you feel more confident in the market, understanding things. Those are the types of things you want to be thinking about. All right,
Yeah,
market's
and
open. Let's go trading, guys. Be safe
yeah,
out there.
yeah, and it'll just be different to everyone, because
Yeah.
without crypto, I'm telling you, next time you're talking to those TC 2000 guys, tell them they might have another client if
No,
they
that,
get off their
yeah.
butts on crypto.
Honestly, and I'm not happy with TC 2000 guys.
Well, I'm gonna be pushing you over to our partner anyway for some auto trading, so maybe you'll get
They,
used to them.
the truth is, guys, they tried to make me pay professional fees for what I do here. I was like, come on.
I've dodged that. My wife has a surprising amount of trading subscriptions.
Let's just say there might be a one under my wife's name.
Yeah, she's man, for someone who doesn't trade, she has so many. She spends so much money on different trading
Dude,
tools.
it's
It's
just so
nuts.
dumb, man. It's so
Yeah.
dumb. Like, why do they attack me for that? Like, I'm not
Well, as someone
I'm
who
not a
worked for a
professional
fintech
yet,
company,
but
I can tell you what's happening there. It's the NYSE.
there's the
They
red
audit, right?
red on
So
SupX start the day here. That's going to be probably one of the top watch stocks for sure. SPY starting a little red there today. I think this is a great day to look for the trades that we look for all the time, Mike. So let's see if we get some of those undercuts of the support and rallies. Hims shooting off the gates there. There's the gap fill and then some.
ooh,
So we talked about this trade all week long. I actually took the swing on this. I just took the money because the way the trade was, right? Like I had the eval and I was just like, I can't make more money than I'm making already. So I took the trade off on Hims, but beautiful gap fill. I hope somebody else was able to capture that one. We've been talking about this one since we drew this on July 9th is when we created that green box looking for it to close. Nice one there, guys.
yeah,
Mara, interesting to look at today. I like Bros off of the Starbucks report, so I'm going to be looking to see what happens with that. I like Starbucks on an undercut and then comes back, so maybe a 95 undercut and then starts trying to come back towards maybe like 100. Doesn't need to go much higher, but I like the outlook on Starbucks moving forward. And we'll see what happens out there. A lot of money made yesterday for me on UUUU. It's I was looking for a trade towards lower nines and it went all the way down there. I took it early, but remember I told you I could look for the $1,000 trade. It was a $900 trade, holding it if I would have held it. So
yeah,
not a bad trade at all, man.
not bad at all. Can't complain about that.
Nah, and then I
Uh,
did make some good money in ETH yesterday, and it is coming down again today. So watch for that.
Yeah, the SPY is flirting with the disaster here. It's trying to hold through at this pre-market level of, call it 635.5, kind of right where we are. Bounce here a couple times in the pre-market. Again, I am in pure mean reversion mode. So I just think that, I don't trust anything. I don't trust the dip. I don't trust the rip. I don't trust any of this. So, oh, and there we go. And now we're back to high. So far we've held that zone, but really precariously. Like it does not like a confident hold.
A little bit here of XOM.
XOM.
Yes. Yes. Undercut
Oil.
112, was looking for it to come back through the VWAP. It did go back through the VWAP there. I kind of am cheating here on the strategy because it pulled back off of the VWAP. So I just took that entrance. I'm using the low.
Yeah, so I've got a couple trades on the go here, which I don't know what any of these
alert for
are.
me. I'm watching Tesla today.
CRDF. Don't know what this is, but it's gapping down huge. So the bot is buying that there. And SNBR. I don't know what this guy is either. Sleep Number Company. Oh, I've heard of those beds. Gap down into support there. So the bot picked up both of those names. So we will we'll see what goes on. So far, so good across the board on the two of them.
Tesla looking pretty good here, guys. I like the look here. I might grab some Tesla around, well, TSLL 1170s. Tesla would be like 322s. So somewhere in that range. I like it. Tesla inside day yesterday, perfectly called on what I was looking for. So like I look for today and I try not to get pretty about it. Today would be the day that it rips out and keeps going. We'll see what happens. We'll look for a dump back towards 322s on Tesla and then for it to start getting strong again.
Yeah, just going around the market here looking for this opening range. Again, we pull back down. You can see a huge area of support right here. Bounced off that twice. Now we're flirting with highs. Also the 2-day VWAP. Just to remind everybody that we've done like nothing today. We're hanging out in the low end of the range, nowhere near the day's low, nowhere near yesterday's high. And that might be the case for
defensive names, ripping, MO, tobacco name, big push there today. Hershey's pushing, so seeing a lot of some defensive action out the gates. Leading sector is utilities, defensive, and healthcare out the gates.
Nvidia, nice push here off
I'm
the
watching
gate.
Nvidia. I think it's very important for Nvidia to hold today.
Very big push there. Semis as a whole, obviously, if Nvidia is moving, semiconductors as a whole is going to move. Just to add to the whole mean reverting thing, I just shorted some OCUL, and as when I say me, I mean the bot. This one was just beaten down pretty bad yesterday. So this bounce today is just being faded in that name. So 3 trades on the go. It's not nothing. It's not the most active day I've ever had, but I've been trying to refine the strategies more to take less trades. When I was doing 30 or 40, commissions were just destroying me. So trying to kind of size down the amount of trades a little bit, size up each individual trade. And this is why I love that I'm doing a lot of this in evals, because I'm just trying to find a happy medium. Like, where is it that the money is the best? And when it comes to, dealing with commissions and all those other things that we have to deal with as well.
All right, doing pretty good in this XOM, at least up a little bit. It's back towards the VWAP here. I'm thinking about adding a little bit there. Also looking at NNE as an option. PanW drop. There was an asset buy in cybersecurity. I forgot the name, but someone did a buy. Was it PanW that did the buy? I'm not sure.
Yeah, they're buying.
There it is.
Buying CyberArk for $25 billion. So
CYBR. So maybe CYBR can get a little bit of a lift. It did have a weird candle this morning. Could maybe make a move back above CYBR.
Yeah. So that doesn't, when I see those, that doesn't make it so bad, because eventually they're going to own this right inside of their business as well. So you're getting those two businesses kind of combined.
Picking up here, guys. That looks good there. Let's see if we can get some type of rally. Maybe a little bit of some VIX collapse back towards 41 today. We'll be looking around. I don't feel
Yeah,
as bearish as I did the other days. A little bit more in that bullish light, especially with that GDP number that we got.
I am just in the full chop mode, right? The 100% chop. So I'm just looking at this and saying, yeah, this is about nothing is going on, right? So
Yeah. And I think today is one of those days where, out the gates might make sense to just be a little bit on kind of like a wait and see mode, see what kind of trends are holding here. And then E not looking too bad there, but that thing went up and down right below that 37, has come back towards that 37. We'll look to see if we get 37 buyers today. By just chopping around, right? A lot of wicks underneath it though on the 15. That's one thing I'll say. Could that be buying pressure? Could be.
yeah, and we got right up. So the yellow line here is a 2-day VWAP. We've bopped our head against that a couple times and just rejected
Yeah.
pretty entirely from it.
Now, if it doesn't get below 635.50, I'm staying in that bullish camp. That's just like where I see
Yeah.
a lot of the bottoming right there. A lot of wicks this morning, and nothing closing below that, right? So with that mentality, it's not a hard line, but it's a line that I can actually use to try to risk off of, right? 30 cents on the SPY, use that to risk off of. Then I can take a little bit more trades. MSTR rebounding, so that means Bitcoin could be rebounding. MSTR actually led the action down, so I'm actually using it as an indicator right now. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, just a whole lot of nothing. Let's
Him's
just
pushing,
go.
man. AMD trying to get up back off of it. It was red this morning. I was like, AMD red? I didn't know it can do that.
Yeah, Bitcoin nothing, Ethereum nothing, Solana down a little bit here. Not a lot going on in the markets, and again, we got to remember there's FOMC coming out, so let's pay attention to that. However, IWM of all things is doing relatively much better. The Qs are doing okay. If we just go into, let's grab this dashboard and just go into kind of the heat map of the
XLU
sectors
is where it's
here.
at.
And when XBI, yeah, XBI is up big, so we
XBI.
got biotechs. That's probably why the small caps are doing so well. So again, I'm super interested in the biotech sector above this kind of 91.11. If
Yeah,
we
there
can
was
get there. So.
there's some talk in that biotech. I didn't grab all of it, but I think it was someone either stepped down. Was it maybe FDA or something like that?
Okay.
So someone stepped down that supposedly more drugs could get approved now. That's the outlook, the rumor
Cool.
on the street. So I always like to bring you the rumors when I hear them. I'm not an expert in that area. I never act like an expert in biotechs, but
Look
we'll
at Starbucks. Just
Oh, no bueno.
lapsed, gapped up, and just look at that daily candle. That is
Oh,
not what you want to see there. That max, but does make me want to just buy some here for a mean reversion.
yeah, 92
Trade.
mean reversion. 92 would be that spot on the daily.
Yeah,
You're
that's
almost
interesting.
there, but what I look for sometimes is the whoosh through the 92 and then come back up through the 92. Then you can use the low as the risk spot, but just how I'd be looking at it. That's how I attempt if I'm catching that falling knife. SPY still just kind of trickling here. I'm waiting for a 636 green candle on the 15. I'm just waiting for that. I'm gonna make it simple.
Yeah, so just a question on buying calls before earnings. I would never personally, because
Yeah, there's a
not
reason
only
why. Explain it, right?
yeah, not only
Big
do you need
reason.
to be right, you need to be right more than the market makers have already priced in.
Yeah.
Right. And if you think you're knowing more than them, I think you got a bit of a time, right? So
Yeah.
that's the way I look at it, is that not only do you have to be right, you got to be right a lot.
Yeah, this
And
is the number one trade I think beginner traders think that they can make that really isn't made often, guys.
Yeah.
Options trades for earnings are usually what? It's selling that it won't go anywhere, because the
Exactly.
expected move is for it to do either, up 13 points or down 13 points. A lot of times the ones that do make money for earnings are the stock didn't move,
Right.
right? That's the only one that I've ever seen that people can actually do that it works. But it also is scary because if there's a surprise on the earnings, you can get hit pretty hard. But yeah,
So
I agree with you. Buying naked puts or naked calls because you expect the company to do a certain thing, it's very tough. You can get it right and still not make money.
Yeah, and just to reiterate, right? That's the worst thing in the world. Is imagine you're right, and you're talking particularly AMSC. Say you're dead right on AMSC, and you think this thing's gonna rip, and you buy the calls, and it does, and you still lose money. Like how you've put yourself, especially in the long run, you've put yourself in such a bad time where if you're trying to trade this idea, and you have to not only be right, you have to be right by a certain amount, and you can go in and you can look at just to see what those market maker moves are pretty easily on some of these names. So yeah, you've got to not only be right, it's got to go way bigger than anyone expects, or it's already priced in. And that's a hard thing to do.
Big move in utilities. Getting a question from Steph here. Any way you can lock the amount of shares in the order entry box? So this is my only recommendation. I don't know if I'm really understanding what you're saying, but I'm going to think that I know. So you can tell me, Steph, if I'm wrong. But so here's an order entry. So this is what you can do. On the down arrow, you can go to set defaults. So when you go to that set defaults, you can adjust these default lots. If you if you've changed the default lot, the first one, that's what's going to show up here in your first box. So let's say you on average go for 300 shares. You could change this to 300. Maybe you could do this to 500, right? You could do this to, 1,000 if you wanted, right? And then if I had them selected, when I go down here, they're already going to be available, or it would automatically show. So that's my recommendation for that at least question, right? So it's not a perfect thing, but that you can adjust it, right? So just take a look at those down arrows. You'll be able to have 5 slots that are just clickable right there. And I think that's the best way to maybe go about it. I have to put it back every time. I love the window. Yeah. And
you can set defaults for the type of asset you're trading. You can also set defaults per security. So if you trade a security often, you just put a default for the SPY. I know Steph doesn't. Steph's trading whatever crazy thing is going this time, but you can as well, right? So
all right, might get stopped out of my XOM here through the 111.80s, but just trying to abide by the rules. Abide by the rule of the strategy. If it's going to get me out, it's going to get me out here. We'll see what happens on that XOM. If it recovers the support, and that's the 112 and comes back. If it doesn't, I'm okay with letting it go. All right, and the platform was, of course, Trader Evolution from Trade the Pool, right? The actual where we're putting in the executions for our trade. But there's XOM at least bouncing a little bit there, so it makes me feel a little bit better that it didn't break the low. We'll see what happens. SPY just broke that 636, so this is the area that I wanted to see some bullish action really come in. We've had that first wick. You see those wicks early? These are the wicks that I drew a hard line for myself. I said, as long as we can stay above this 635.50, we're looking fine. That could be all buying or the scare of the morning, right? So we'll see what happens if we start to climb now as we recovered VWAP.
Yeah, it looks like we're trying.
Look at NVIDIA. That's a big watch for me. AMD, the stocks that could do well, right? AVGO. Those are the stocks that have been doing well in tech that could continue to just grind higher. TSM is one I'd watch today. Above 243, going to 245. Doesn't look like a bad trade right now, even.
No, we're through the 2-day VWAP, which I think is perfect, right? That's what we needed to do, is to climb through that, and now we just need to potentially get through the next big level. I see is 636.50, and if we can get through that, then kind of at least we're grinding into yesterday's high. And as I say that, we do a little reversal. So,
more chop. We got to wait through the chop, guys. Wait through the chop. At least that's what I'm seeing right now.
Yeah, and that's why I'm doing a lot of buy dips, sell rips, You know, the trades that I showed you that the robot took are all mean reversion setups right now. There's no trend continuation. And that's because I don't think there's any trend continuation today on the market until after JPOW leaves. But then you also have these earnings reports and yesterday or tomorrow's numbers, which we could talk about as well. There's all kinds of stuff going on. So it's just not the day for me. It seems like Thursday and Friday are going to be a little bit better because we're waiting for Apple, but that's about it. So
I talked about on the playbook a short for DAL and UAL, that kind of thing, airlines off of the booking. So I might take this trade to the short side, but that's just a trade that I see available to me. The big thing is these have like these gaps that they can go into, and I just feel like it doesn't need to fill the whole gap, but going to 53 would make sense for me. So it doesn't look too bad there. UAL, DAL, like UAL has like that undercut 90, go to 88 look. We'll see what happens to these. Booking was not the best report, so I'm watching to see if it starts to affect different names ahead of it. Leisure, another one, could have been a short on Royal Caribbean today. I kind of like the way this is looking right now, but the thing is the spread on Royal Caribbean is so hard to play. That's the one thing I would tell you on Royal Caribbean. I like to play. It's just the spread is 81 ticks. It's hard to play there. The daily chart looks prime.
Starbucks continues its bleed lower. I just
91
cannot
now.
Yeah,
And that's weird because the earnings weren't bad at all, man. They actually started to turn some things around with Nicole. So I was wondering if they were going to be able to bounce it. But that's another reason why I didn't buy the 92, right? Like I like it when it comes back through it, right? So we're like chopping. And there's still a chance for this to bounce back to VWAP. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, if I was
eyes on the chop, man.
And I might, right? I was about to say, if I was in the mood for some discretionary trade, I might take a shot at something like this, and just you take your hit, and you put a wide stop on it because it's a mean reversion setup, like maybe below 90 or something, and then you check back later. Maybe we bounce to 92, 93.
Rando, that's a good question. We'll save it for 10 a.m., man. Once it's 10 a.m., let's talk a little bit more about that. If we're going to get a trader to join us, we could also bring it up with him. But yeah, we can talk about that with Michael about trend and mean reversions, when to think about different strategies. A lot of this, I think, is going to more depend also on your data taking of your strategies. But that's just what I'll just do a quick answer. We'll expand on that coming up.
I think that's a good one to.
That's
a good one to chat
about.
about.
HIMS. There you go. We wanted to find strength. Sometimes you got to just find where the strength is. SBET, NNE. So there's some going. Remember I talked about really early. NNE had the setup above 37s to go right back into that spot. It's a tough ride to see a chart like this, right? Where it goes up, 27%, then comes down 20%, and it's coming back up 8%. Know that it moves. But it is moving right back up there. And Royal Caribbean, down she goes. Just hard chart to get after, right? But maybe this affects the other cruise lines, right? It doesn't need to be RCL. Maybe it's CCL, right? Maybe it's NCLH. You know what I mean? There's other ways to play this. Or that Viking one, VIK. It's been going up, right? This is a cruise, guys. This also looks like a short at some point. This Viking Holdings, I think, should be up there, but we'll talk about that one later. Let's keep going. What are you taking a look at out there, traders? What are you guys watching? Smash it up. We'll keep it going. And shout out to the swing trade on Cliff. Cliff, shout out to your son, man, on that Marvell swing.
Nice work. Marvell, through earnings? Is that an earnings thing?
No, good news, I think. Overnight good news in Marvell. It was a deal. I saw the news earlier. Let me grab it right here.
I got an upgrade by Morgan Stanley. That's a good thing. And VTS, someone's saying here. Oh, yeah, just choppy guy. Stuck in a range, this NVTS. Starbucks to me again is very interesting, but I'm trying to hold off. I figure if it can get under 90 and then bounce back up, I think I'll take a little shot there. Little discretionary trade periodically, not something I'm going to do too often, but if I can see something like that, I'm definitely going to take that.
It's pretty much the analyst note stated more conversation about that Marvell's chip is doing really well in the way that it's being kind of developed right now, and that
Okay.
Microsoft is struggling. So Microsoft could rely on Marvell's chip for a little bit longer on their current generations
Gotcha.
before they get their own AI chip.
Well, that's certainly not a bad thing. If someone's going to be buying your stuff, using your chips, not something you want to
Yeah.
you want to buy.
Longer.
Well,
I mean, this is the conversation in a lot of tech, right? Of do you make your own AI chips or do you buy AI chips, right? Because making them is not going to be easy either. It's going to be expensive at first, right? That's what you're seeing multiple companies start to get into, though.
well, and it's very interesting to see the companies, and this seems like something that, and I know you went to business school as well. They talk about all the time is the build versus buy debate, and there's a
Exactly.
whole bunch of quants, right?
Yeah.
Nerds sitting there running, mocking up models. How much will we save? Like Mike or Amazon, for example, has kind of stated they have no interest really. They're gonna just kind of deal with what they've got out there and make partnerships and do that, and then you wonder too with how much you can trust a lot of this stuff, because if they say, oh yeah, don't worry NVIDIA, we're going to use your chips forever, then meanwhile they've got a little R&D department that they're
They can
hiding
do
from the
it.
balance
They can
sheet,
do it. They don't
you
really
know,
need to. They don't.
they
But I
can just
think they'll work on like different solutions, right? I think quantum is really more the move for longer term research, because quantum's going to step on AI at some point, right? Let's just be honest. And I think we got to just keep looking at companies like this, right? Because there's going to be some companies that get these AI chips right, and there's going to be some that just waste a bunch of money. Let's
Mhm.
be honest. So it's just something to look at in this space, and also looking at what's actually getting appreciation. There's a reason why Broadcom is getting appreciation, guys.
All right, so yeah, I think again I'm watching this one.
Like
If we get
Broadcom's
under
chips must
90,
be gold right now, man. For the
well,
companies that are using it, it must just be at pure gold. I don't know too much about their chips, so I won't guess right now, but the price action tells me that it's that much better.
and I don't even really think that it's one of those. I think capacity has a lot to do with it. Do you have enough chips to sell people? That's something why Nvidia
That's a
is so on
whole nother
fire,
thing, right?
right? Is they
Exactly.
like how fast can you pump these things out, and that's why everyone except poor Intel.
Yeah, no one wants to
Except
use
poor-
3 different companies of chips, right, for their setup. They want one chip all
yeah,
around, right, so they can manage it better.
yeah, and yeah, poor everyone's getting love. We got Marvell getting love. We get everyone except poor Intel. This is again, I've got an alert set. Some
So you know
days
what
is
the
going to get
worst
up
part is?
26.
You know what the worst part is? IBM even got love. They couldn't do it, dude.
I know. And I would say someone should be fired, but I think they fired like a handful of CEOs at this point. They just can't get one that can turn the problem is when you're that big, like I could see more.
Just get with the US. Get with Donald. Get with Donald. Figure it out, man.
Well, just say, yeah, we're a
We need
US
help.
exclusive
I would literally
company.
knock on his door. We need help, Donald. What do
And
we
just
do?
whatever win you want to take for propping up this again, giant US based, right? We will build everything
You need your
here.
son
We'll
on our
do
board? You need your son on our board? We
yeah.
can figure that out.
How can we pad some pockets? Like, listen, we'll give you every optics win and every financial win you could possibly need. Just get our stock price out of this gutter. This thing is disgusting.
All right, SBET doing well here, pulling back with Ethereum ETH, looking like it's going to push up here. SPY hanging in here. A little part of me's thinking SBET might not be a bad move right here off the 20 pullback. If Ethereum's going to keep ripping, right? It's just more if you want to think that bet. The truth is the SPY's gone nowhere today, right? Let's just be as honest as it can be. It can be like we did yesterday, where it didn't move until the day traders were pretty much out the door, right? And then it said, you know what? They're all out. Let's send it down now.
Well, and yeah, we talked about this morning. Is it's probably going to be nothing, huge spike one way, and then nothing, and then Jay Powell walks off stage, and then a huge spike another way, and then nothing, and then the earnings reports come out, and then we have a huge gap overnight. So
here's one they're running into earnings. Hood running it into earnings, man. They're running it into earnings right there. They're shooting Hood there.
Well, and I'm sure you saw the Forbes cover, eh? I'm sure you were out there. I don't like that. Let me find a tweet. I can't use my tweet, but let me find a tweet. My tweet had some adult words in it that I can't do.
Extracurriculars added to it. It's something to think about, man. Now, one thing is for certain, though, Hood has done a lot of things to kind of prop their stock price up to this spot. So see what happens today. Hims, though, continuing that. It's one of those markets where it's very slim pickings right now, but I think if you're in the right stocks, you're making good money. NNE, Hims, SBET doing really well. SMR not doing too bad, down up 4%. UMAC not doing too bad. Hood, CEG, I talked about energy names early on. XLU was leading the market. It continues to lead the market from the open. Defensive names up. What's in the red? Basic materials like hell. That is really taking a beating. Where is it taking the beating at? The industries, agricultural inputs. So that MOS trade, remember I talked about that one?
Yeah.
And that CF trade that were like trend trades higher, those are breaking down. I could even maybe take a bet on those to start to break. Like, let's say that MOS, that's a pretty price to start betting that maybe this could be the breakdown, right? It's more about how you want to go about it, but that MOS daily chart gives me really strong levels to be like, well, the trend breaks, I'll know it. I know where resistance is on this chart clearly. All right, 38 looks like it can't get to hell up there. It struggled up there twice, 2-3 days. Then it started to really break down. It bounced back, couldn't even get back to 38. So something tells me if it breaks 36, I have a pretty good setup trade here of $2 risk to the upside for a potential breakdown back towards, let's say, the 50. I'd say about the 200-day makes sense to make half of this rally come back. That'd be maybe back towards 31. So it's not a bad outlook there. $5 down, $2 risk. Some things like that I really like for swing trade mentality.
It's the math. That's all you got to do, right? Is that basic math, and then be right half the time, a little bit less, you'll do fine. But
and what you want to know is what does it do, right? This is on a specific input, right? This is agricultural input, but it's potash, right? Potash. And so this is what you want to be looking into and how this is being affected right now. Maybe it's a seasonality effect that's actually to this.
This is going to be all deal with Canada stuff, right? If there's a deal announced, the reason this thing did this is because of the trade war with Canada. Because we provide, like, again, there's all these stats that without Canadian potash, America starves to death, kind of thing, right? So this is a run up saying, oh, everyone's going to buy our company, right? They're going to be a huge demand for our potash. So a deal with Canada goes sour. I think this thing rips. A deal with Canada gets done. This gets a huge kind of revision. Maybe not all of this, but gets some. So yeah, this is what we were talking about here. So this guy on the cover of Forbes, again, I can't share my tweet because it was a bit. So then, why is that a big deal? Well, it's a big deal because of this. So what we got BZ, who's like been running from authorities back and forth for a while. She's in jail. He should be in jail, but he's not, and he's in jail. So they have a really bad track record of putting these guys and gals on their covers right before some calamitous event occurs in which half of these people are in jail. There's an argument that the other half should also be in jail. And again, it's one of those things that you're not gonna make a trade off of. But when I look at him on the cover and then I look at the chart, and again, I own some, right? So I'm talking my book here. I own it from in these 50s area. and I look at the chart, and I say we're up that much. We're starting to get this kind of, they have a bad record with these things. Maybe I ring the register, right?
Dude, I don't know about you, but I would have called him immediately and I'd be like, remove my picture now.
Yeah, let's wait till after earnings, guys. Don't put me up there until you know.
No,
Give me
no, no. It
couple
wouldn't
weeks
for
after
me. It
earnings.
wouldn't have been like that. It would have been like, remove my picture now. You do not have my likeness to use my picture.
Yeah, it's
Take my picture off your magazine now. I would never want to be on Barron's. Like, I'm just sorry.
no,
Like that's
and
like that's like being on the Madden cover. I think I would honestly be a little bit concerned too.
well, we talk about it all the time. It's taught in the CMT curriculum, the magazine cover indicator, where
Yes.
you know these guys are wrong so hilariously often that in academic study about behavioral economics, which is what tactical analysis is, they say as soon as stuff starts getting to the magazine covers, it's time to ring the register. So I'm, you know, of course I wish I could say I was in my full position from here in the 50s, but I've been kind of piecing it out on the way up. It's just whether or not that last chunk I end up taking a shot at. I've got 5 hours to figure it out before earnings, whether I take it out or not. Again, long term, I'd like to just, part of me just wants to put that piece away somewhere and hold it forever because I really like the company. I like what they're doing. It just doubled, right? And my question is, could I buy it back at a lower price, right? Are we going to come back and retest these 70s at some point? Or is this just thing just going to rip from here? And by the time it pulls back, it's, you know, it's, I would have missed a huge move by not just sticking with it, right? That's the question I got to ask myself. Regret minimization is everything.
Seeing out there right now, I did take a short on DAL. Just want to let you guys know on that short DAL. Looking to see if this can come right back down off of the VWAP. And it did go up there 3 times on the bounce. So pretty much got the resistance in. It can risk slightly above that spot. 54.40s, kind of the risk here, and look for it to come back down through the 54. Trying to keep it simple. Remember, I told you if I'm going to take some trades today, they're going to be simple. This is a simple trade. Simple. Right.
And again, for, you know, people trickling in, I do think we gotta highlight that, right? So you can probably hear it in my voice. The kids are making me sick, and then Mitch's kids got him up all hours of the night. So he went into today and say, listen, I'm not firing on all cylinders. So I'm gonna take a step back. I'm gonna chill out. I had a wicked day yesterday. So it's okay to chill. And again, that is, especially for the discretionary traders, that's huge, right? You have to do that kind of stuff. You got to say, you know, some days you're like, I'm feeling good. My brain is just, it's turned on. Everything's going well. Yeah, I'm going to kick it. And then some days you go, it's just not doing it. Got some fog going on up there. So
yeah. And also the market's not doing anything. So then why am I doing stuff? Exactly. That's what I would say. Right. And so like you see me here, take this position. It's a really small one. If I lose, I lose $30. If I win, we make what, close to $100. So it's there's still 3-to-1 look, but not going to change my life or anything. But at least I'm trading, and based off of what, already a predetermined kind of setup that I was already looking at, right? Which is, it was part of my playbook. I'm seeing the action happen. Well, I'll just go for it, right? All I need is booking to go red, and I feel like this trade will start playing in, right? If booking goes red, right? It's more like kind of a relationship play in leisure and consumer spending outlook. So you could look at all of them. Look at RCL. You see how that dropped, right? And I think that we're looking at leisure trades starting to fall off. Hilton is another one that I'd look at for potential reversals to the downside today. Look at Marriott, right? Like, there's a reason why these are showing the weakness. When you get a lot of consumer insights from where? Earnings reports, guys. The companies tell you. They booking said that overall travel from US is dying down.
Yep.
From US side, right? And they're saying a lot of this has to do with immigration. They said up to 3-hour long lines in immigration. Like,
ooh, I'm glad I'm not in September. I'm going to Toronto for my next kind of getting out of my fishing village into the world. And I'm glad I'm just going internally, right? I'm gonna gonna let you guys sort your stuff out for a little bit, and then I'll take another visit. But yeah, that stuff sounds miserable to me. Thankfully, the Nexus Pass is great. I can get in and out quickly whenever I want. But yeah, that kind of
here's an
stuff.
opportunity here, guys. SBET off the VWAP. SPY bouncing a little bit here, so let's take some bets. SBET, I'll take a small bet. Haha, pun intended. SBET, small bet. You get what I mean? Haha. Let's go. Let's take it off the VWAP. 200 shares. Use the support. 1951. Could do 1950 just to go 1 penny below it. About $48 of risk here. Move to the top end is 178. So we're looking for 24 ticks down, 89 ticks up. That's good risk to reward for me. Let's see what happens. This is also bet on ETH doing well today. Remember, I bet ETH down. I started seeing a lot of sizing coming in down here. 21,000 shares, 21,900 shares at 35.40s. So it keeps getting bigger ads down here, or at least big order size down here. Those look like buyers to me, and the reaction telling me a little bit more on that end. So MSTR also coming back up. Bitto probably looking like it's starting to come. They're starting to come back up there. So hey, got some bets on, and DAL in the green now. SBET. So don't need to only bet one direction. Essentially, I have two-sided bet here, and we'll see if the SPY can get out of this range, man. Look at the 15-minute candles now. 3 wicks at the open through that 635.50s. No close below that.
It's rough, right? And this is why,
That's
again,
rough.
going into it. Again, I always remember when I used to day trade for a living, my whole thing was on Wednesdays, I would trade the first half hour and then I would leave for the day. It was the only days that I left super early, because I just, as always, everyone should be tracking your trades at all time. If there's nothing else you take from me, it's the fastest way to become even systematic at all. The amount of traders who don't takes me 5 minutes a night to journal all my trades. And by journal, I don't mean like I'm writing about my feelings and all of this. It's just about the okay, this is what I entered, this is what setup it came from. Everything else kind of gets tracked. It takes 5 minutes max, and that alone is a huge deal. So I journaled these FOMC days, and I noticed that I lost a lot of money. And they were pretty consistently negative days. If I had traded past that kind of first half hour of we get a big move one way or another in the market, I would always just give back money. So it was like, why? There's 2 ways to deal with it. One is kind of what Mitch is doing. He's trying to stay engaged. He's taking some shots here or there. He's doing it small, so it's not going to hurt him. And then you kind of keep your mental capital for after J Powell walks off that stage, and then the market can do whatever it wants to do. That's one way to do it. And the other way is, get some sunshine, right? Walk the dogs, that kind of stuff.
And,
right?
and you guys are gonna watch me do this, guys. I'm gonna throw up my screen here so you guys can see it all today. These are the types of things that I really like to show you guys, where I can bring the execution screen right here for you guys. So look at this. Right now I'm up at 39 on that SBET.
Yep.
But I know it's not a day where I can push with the SPY doing what it's doing. So I'm just gonna go break even, guys. Just gonna go break even.
Small shots here and there.
Small shots, and when they start working for me, no reason to take bets anymore, right? Take smaller bets at that point. This was originally like a $30 risk. Now I'm going to go to this candle here, $13.50 risk, right? I'm just small risking. If trends continue, I'll win. If they don't, I'll get stopped out, and stopped out small, because that's the name of the game a lot, guys. Stay small early, figure it out, how the market's working. Unless it's just working really quickly in a direction, that's a little different, right? But today we're seeing lots of chop. So you can expect your stock to chop. You shouldn't be expecting huge trends on a day when the market is also chopping big, right? So we'll see what happens here. And a big part of that is trying to find outperformance. And that's what we talked about also, trying to find stocks that are actually moving, like SBET. That's why I'm taking the bet in SBET. At least it's a stock that is moving today, right? NNR, NNE, another stock that's moving. You see, I held the 37. That's a good daily look. Let's see how these stocks play out. Let's go back to SBET, which really could get going, right? So this is one that I'm glad to be break even on, because if it does get going, it's going to pay me for the day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and right on a day like today, if you can get one
Simple
or two
strategy,
good
right?
ones,
Flag pattern.
yeah,
I said I'm going to keep it simple, man. Don't try to do pretty patterns today. Just simple patterns, right? Simple pattern. Let's take the trade.
And then, yeah, you get one or two good ones. Use that as kind of your padding. Maybe you play around with some of that padding, and then keep.
I said the support was right here. I mean, it's clear as day on the chart too. It's not like it's a hidden secret, right? I mean, who can't see this chart, right? If you know technical analysis, you know this chart.
Well, and the beauty of something like that too is that you're kind of playing outside of the traditional financial system, right? That's not going to have a huge SPY correlation to it. You're playing with when it comes to, you know, kind of more crypto meets kind of speculation. It's like, again, the stuff that Steph plays with. She doesn't care that the SPY's not moving because it's, you know, some
now we're at 45.
$2 market cap stock that's going nuts. And yeah, you take your bet. And the reason I think this is so important is because you're saving your mental capital. You know, you're saving your daily stop limit, but you're also saving your mental capital for when you get to the point that JPOW's done. There might be some really clean moves after that, and it would be really unfortunate if you kind of went through your physical capital, right? You burned through your daily stop limit, but also you spent a whole lot of mental capital, so you're exhausted when that happens, and then you're just not executing as well as you could based off of that.
So the yellow line that I just added to this, you see this yellow line above, this is ETH, the symbol that I have on my left. So I'm just putting a symbol comparison to try to help me see that the ETH is continuing with this SBET pattern. You see how the ETH pulled back here right when SBET pulled back, and then it started to get some strength. Actually, ETH led the breakout here. Now SBET is following that breakout. I'd want to see ETH just continue to push and then SBET to follow it, right? So we'll see what happens here. And now that I'm up like 65, I definitely know I'm not losing on this position. So I actually even cancel my stop. This is where I think I'm a little different in the subjectiveness. I don't want to show that I want to get out at 1974 here. But if it does pull back, I'll throw it right back out. That's the key. I'm just watching the action here and focused on this one. DAL, I'm letting it do its thing, right? I don't even need to look at DAL anymore. My position in winning, I'm going to focus and try to maximize. DAL has a $13 stop out, so I don't have to stress about that, and just find the winner on the day. SPY starting to come back to 636. So maybe this is the time that we finally get going and SBET can get going. We'll find out here. All right, looking in the chat. What are you guys looking at, chat? What's up out there? How we doing? All right, guys, it's 10:16. We can talk a little bit more about trend trading and mean reversion trading. How do you determine more of that, Michael? I know you do a lot more systematic on that side, so let us know. How do you kind of look into that conversation? This is a question brought to the chat, brought by the chat, of course. Rando bringing that kind of conversation up and others. So chat, let us know if you guys have any questions on this. I'll let Michael take over.
Well, in a perfect world, your systems automatically adapt and you have multiple versions of those systems, right? And it's not you're not always going to be able to do that, but depending on, you know, what kind of trader you are, in some respects and some ability, you certainly will be able to, right? So I'll bring back this chart that I showed you guys yesterday of the current systems here that I'm testing, and you can see it's hard because it's so much data for an intraday strategy, but there's periods where some systems are horrible and some systems are good. So right off the bat, I'd say the first thing to do is to pair both, right? To have, and you can run this in testing anytime you have a trend following system that has some edge over the market. If you pair that with a mean reversion system that has some edge over the market, what you notice almost instantly is that your return either stays the same or increases a bit, and your drawdowns get, you know, they go almost like half, right? So if you had a system that was right, say made 20% a year and the max drawdown was 20%, and then you push that with a mean reversion system, your new one might have a 25-30% year over year growth, and then you've gone from 20% to maybe 15 or 10% drawdowns. So that's kind of step one. Is that I want to always make sure that I'm combining the systems, and then when system A is not working, then system B is. So then when it comes to if I want to weight current systems more or less, which is what I'll do. If I think it's going to be a trend following day, I'll apply more risk to trend following systems. If I think it's a mean reversion day, I'll apply more risk, but I'm always running all of them. It's simply what we were talking about this morning when it comes to what's going on today, right? So like I know that at later in the day we've got this FOMC number, and then later in this day we've got the big earnings reports. So that just makes me think that we're not going to do anything today. That combined with the overall market direction, which is just showing that hey, we are just kind of range bound here, right? We've been up so much. And basic technical analysis, we've been up so much. I don't think we're bearish by any means. There's nothing out there to say that we're bearish. Positioning is still super bullish, all that kind of stuff. But we're a little bit overextended. Again, that puts me more in the mean reversion. So I'll just do these kind of analysis to make sure, again, I'm running both, but I'm just weighting one versus the other a little bit higher, maybe applying a little bit more risk to it. But I definitely think as soon as you're done with a trend following system that works and is good, you should start with a mean reverting system that works and is good. And again, combine those two things, and I think your returns get way, way better.
Spot is still playing the game, guys. So if you played the first hour of the market, you probably haven't been doing much. So here it is. Let's see if the SPY actually breaks range. I think at this point, we need to work further back into the hourly and make sure that we're breaking hourly ranges from yesterday. And remember, we broke down in this yesterday where we kept hanging out at towards 637. Then we broke down all the way to 634.50. So we're kind of just still in that range of yesterday's wash where we're just kind of hanging in there. So I think we got to wait till we at least see a range break on the downside or the upside here of levels where it broke down. Right there, where you see Michael draw it right there, right? So that range, let's get out of that range, right? Because if not, we could stay in there the whole day.
And let's hold out of that. I could definitely see us breaking out of this range and just putting in a little wick. Right back down.
You got to ride the moves right now fast. Got out of that S-bet there on that pullback. It could still go right back up, guys. But got out break even there. Would rather get back in if I need to, especially on a day like today. Don't need to get pretty with it. Just need to keep playing and seeing what happens, and playing small is really the way. I was thinking there, taking $20, $30 there, and it would have got me back to a break even day, but down $38 is really nothing when I really think about it. I've taken some bets here, and just there's not really much going on. At the end of the day, right. ETH still rising though, I will say that. So that still looks good for stocks to come back, but maybe just a little later in the day.
Yeah, and it's funny, right? We're big range here on Ethereum that we're inside as well, just like we were in the market. If you go to a 5-minute chart of Ethereum, you got these highs and these lows. Kind of everything's waiting everything's waiting for Papa Powell, man. At some point,
Papa Powell, the big bad wolf.
I don't get why we do things so insanely slow like this. You think we would be able to, and the move would be at some point to start being able to do these things faster? Like, why don't they update rates every night?
You never know, guys. There is one trade I'm seeing lifting the market here. This is what it is. It's NVIDIA, it's AMD, it's that Broadcom. The love is still there, guys, in those tech names. So I would look at the Qs, and the Qs should look a little bit better here. I like TQQQ earlier in the day. I like it now. So I'll take a look at TQQQ here. It's already spiking here.
Short a little
bit. Just grabbed a little bit there.
A little Spotify here to the short side. Just again, one of these kind of second day plays. One day. And the idea is there was some like DOJ investigation or something yesterday, and then this big sell-off, and now it pushed up. And this is again just one of the 6 setups that I'm currently running, which is just looking for a revision back into the zone. I did end up taking a discretionary trade. Which is a big deal.
Starbucks.
One Starbucks, right? We got near 90 bucks.
I can't blame you, man. I can't blame you.
Just bottomed out here. I think I'm just going to put a stop. This wick goes down to 87, but I'll just probably put it like 89, and just give it some room here and just see if this was a little bit too much. Maybe we get a little bit of a bounce here, back up to VWAP or something, right? So if I'm right, I'll make $2. So I'm in at 90.50. So I'll probably just go to 89.50, and then if I'm right, we go to 93.50. So that ends up being like a 3-to-1 kind of very, very basic, very simple trade to take. Very rare. This is the rare discretion. I think the last discretionary trade I took was like Lily on some big news, and I just got slapped like almost instantly. So let's see.
I'm getting to them, guys.
So Shay's a greeting. Michael, I'll start with mean reversion because my trend following strategy was not working well. I never actually traded mean reversion. Took one on Tesla. Yeah. So again, this is kind of my whole reason and my whole idea of trading over the long run is that I have traded so many strategies and so many styles that work sometimes and they don't work others, or they work for a bit and then they stop working. Where what I do now is I just stack strategies. So I am trading systematic crypto strategies and day trading and swing trading and investing, and I may build some future strategies and maybe go into some option strategies. And the idea is that that would be very hard to do if you were a discretionary trader, because the amount of mental bandwidth it would do to take. Again, I've talked about day traders that I know that are 7-figure day traders who are trading like 26 strategies. Well, they're not doing it manually by hitting the buttons like it's years ago. You can only do that if you very much systematize those. So my process is come up with an idea, test the idea. If it works, right, put it into a strategy, have a system trade it for me, then on to the next one and on to the next one until I start running out of buying power. And then what I have to do is just start ranking strategies by which ones are working the best. So it's one of those, because there's no strategy that works all the time, not a single one. The only way that I have discovered to get anywhere near consistency is to add different strategies. And when strategy A sucks, like you're saying, your trend following strategy didn't work. Well, maybe today, your trend following strategy lost you $100, but your mean reverting strategy made you $200. Well, that's a good day. Then maybe tomorrow it's different. Maybe mean reversion, you lose $100, and trend following, you make $200. And just, the fact that it's kind of like hedging yourself, but you're doing so based off of as many different strategies as we possibly could. So.
Yeah, SPY tried to make a little bit of a move up there. VIX melting a little bit down, 41.61. Started the day around 42, or at least VXX for me that I trade. Seeing a lot of sideways action. There's not really much out there. I took a shot here in TSLL just based on Tesla holding the 15-minute pattern all morning long until right here. So I was just thinking if the Qs go, maybe Tesla goes with it here. So it's just because it's been holding and not really leaking out.
Well, Tesla was very impressive yesterday, right? If you look at the Qs,
didn't leak much.
Yeah, the Qs had that gap up and it sold all the way down into yesterday's range, broke yesterday's range for a bit, where Tesla didn't, sold off with the market, but not nearly as much, held yesterday's low really well. So yeah, nice coil here, where so far yesterday was an inside day and today is an inside day. So things are getting real coiled up real
here
tight.
Too. I think I'm not the only one taking the bet because it's such a tight range. And so when there's literally tight ranges, what can you do? Tight risk, right? Okay, bigger bets. I'm seeing a little bit of this in TSLL. Just saw 37,000 shares, 754 at 1172. Sure, wow. I'm not the only one looking at this Tesla trade. You know what I mean? Yeah. Take that 37,000 share trade. Yeah. And he stepped up on the offer, just to also tell you guys. So it was on the offer.
Yeah, TAC mentioning Circle here. And yeah, every time it gets to this is the VWAP from the IPO. And so far, that's 1, 2, 3, and this is the fourth touch of it. And so far, it's been a bounce every time. So I would just kind of pay attention here to see if that happens again. You got a pretty tight line in the sand. If you end up losing this support any significant amount, then probably time to go, or at least step aside for now. But yeah, so far, every time we bounce, we hit this zone, we're getting a pretty good bounce off it. Not good. Good.
All right, guys, set the risk
Yeah.
there in that TSLL trade. At this point, it needs to start making the move with the market. If not, the market might just come back here also. So got to be quick. Got to be quick in these moments. And I think that's what I'm looking for. At least 67's risk here. So less than 10 cents on TSLL. We'll see if it gets going. I'll still give it the chance. Just like I'm green on DIL, and I'm going to give it the chance. We're not really getting continuation moves. So just got to be careful. If anything, it might just be one of these days where we keep the risk small and we get the hell out of here and we keep trading on tomorrow.
Mm-hmm. You always live to fight another day. So far, it's exactly as we said, where we got through this major resistance and we wicked just like 10 cents through it, and we're coming back down now. It's textbook how kind of easy these things are. And, you know I say it all the time, but I know we get new viewers all the time. The reason this occurs is because you have to put yourself in the shoes of the people that move the markets, the hedge funds, the large institutions. Am I taking a bet right now, knowing that JPOW is coming up in a little bit, and then after that, we've got some huge earnings? I don't have to take a bet right now, right? The large institutions, the hedge funds, they don't have to trade every day, right? They will, they'll kind of chill out. They'll wait for JPOW to get out of the way, because that's like this big risk event that occur. If he comes up on stage and he's just like real pissed today, and he just says, you know what, not only are we not going to lower this year, we might actually raise this year with new data. There's like a 1% chance that's happening. But if I'm a hedge fund, I'm like, well, why don't I just trade after? I'll turn on the robot once he walks off stage. Right?
What I want him to do, I want him to walk up to the podium. I want someone to come, give him a piece of paper. What do you mean? The Fed did this? The Fed did this?
He should do a whole rant about how what the cost of the building is, and then he's including. Just do the whole. Like, listen, I've got like 30 minutes now where I can say wherever I want. So Trump can yell at me all day. I'm going to yell back for a little bit, right?
Very few political things I bring to my wife, and even she cracked up about that one. That's just priceless.
I loved people putting like the soundtrack of The Office behind it and all of this stuff. It's
priceless, man. Priceless. That's what I'll say. Priceless,
no one,
indeed.
And no one takes any of it seriously anymore. That's why I think that the market continues to grind up, even though there's tariff this, tariff that.
Yeah.
It's the whole nothing ever happens crowd makes so much money. Speaking of, I was actually just looking here at Kalshi, because even more, I keep bringing up the Fed watch tools, but instead of that, we should really use the prediction markets.
That still looks good, guys.
And there's a 97% chance based off of Kalshi that there's nothing. So if you really want to make money today, you could take a shot on Kalshi, and what would that be if they actually lower rate? You put in $100 at 3%, and it pays out. Oh geez, I got to do that math, but that would be an insane bet.
So
if you ever get it,
SBET setting up again for you traders out there that are looking for trades. It's not a bad little setup. It did come back, held that throwback look, so it doesn't look too bad off that 20 cut right now that it just did. ETH's not looking too bad either, but something tells me that we might get one more pullback, trying to mess with some traders on this 15-minute. You see how this looks like it could come right here and then get going. So just be careful for more choppiness here. And that's just what I'm seeing. But the SPY is trying to make a move here. Let's see if there's any specific sector that's starting to get hot more than others. And of course, technology and industrials. So the areas that are really hot, right? Starting to push here and starting to lead the market. That could push us higher, right? So you keep your eyes on that. Seeing some aerospace and defense names start to show up and have a strong day. Boeing having a good day there. So take a look at that one. Axon. There's some names starting to move. Rocket Labs up 3%. So ASTS starting to move higher. You're getting some moves. There's a cutout there in TSLL. So out in TSLL doesn't mean that it's completely done, but it did come and hunt me right on the support. I didn't want to risk below the support. So I'm right there out 1167s, down about 85 right now. I'm thinking about just calling it. There's really no point in continuing to push on a day like today. We'll see what happens towards the afternoon. I will keep this DAL just because it's in the green. We'll see if it just starts to drop now. Maybe it gets me back some of my money and get break even. But today's definitely not a gas pedal day. You see it in me, guys. And I've had really good last 2 weeks. So it's okay to give back 85 bucks right here and then just focus in, right? There's no need to overexpose when you don't feel you have edge. I'll repeat. There's no need to overexpose when you don't feel you have an edge in the market, right?
That's what trading's all about, right? Is
right now, to feel like you have an edge would mean that you would know what would be coming. And who knows? Nobody knows. Lovely Jimi Hendrix song.
Which
one of my favorite. A little hidden one.
Yeah, I was just charting and I keep forgetting, but yeah, you can get Polymarket here on our partner Trend Spider too. So this is the rate decision for July. And you can see back when the tariff tantrum was going on, there was like a 60% chance people thought that the Fed was going to cut. That's what that red line is. And then the blue line is no change. So there's only a 27% chance there'd be no change. And then ever since then, we've been, there's been a 93% chance all the way back in July. They said they're not cutting rates. So not only do we not think they're cutting rates, they were pretty damn sure that they're not cutting rates all the way back here in July. So yeah, there's no reason to think that today is going to be an interesting day until one of those things ends up breaking, right? Which right here on the SPY, you can see 15-minute chart actually looks good. We're trying to hold above this zone that we've talked about here, but so far it's looking like two potential topping tails up there. We got through and sold off and then got through again. Now we're selling off a little bit. So it becomes a hard game in order to take that. So,
well, guys, if you're wondering why I'm bopping here, I just threw up a link in the chat there to Who Knows by Jimi Hendrix there. Can't rock it on the stream, but it's a good song, guys. If you guys haven't heard it before, check it out. Who knows?
I'm just always just into the lo-fi when it's trading time, and then when we're done, I turn on some good music.
This isn't too bad though. I mean, it got some guitar, but it's not really loud. It's just more Jimmy. So if you guys don't know, Jimmy did a lot of different albums. Like first, it was kind of more like the promotional albums, and then he did this album at the very end, before he passed, right? And this album was really more of that experimental, like I just want to hear myself playing. he deletes a lot of like the drums. You don't hear too much of it. You just hear more of that guitar. But yeah, it's a good one.
It's my buddy. Speaking of rate cuts, it's my buddy Caleb who does some really good.
Yeah, Caleb's really good.
Really good
follow, guys.
Right, so he talked about it right here. This is just a chart of the 3-month Treasury yield. So you can see how it leads, and then the blue line is the rate hike or cut. And you can see that because they signal this stuff so well in advance, all you have to do is look at the 3-month, and the 3-month hasn't done anything for yield in God knows how long here. So this should move as it usually does. If you go back here, it should move every time based off expected, right? The market knows before the Fed even says anything what's going on. So there's nothing at all priced in. So when they do nothing, basically it won't really surprise us, where the SPY is drifting higher. But just like I didn't trust when we were hanging out near lows, I don't trust now that we're hanging out near highs. I've got 3 longs and 3 shorts on, so I'm happy, and they're all mean reversion stuff. So I'm hedged, one could say. Yeah, I'm looking through. None of these are very interesting. Sleep Number, which I just didn't even know this was a company until it entered my thing.
Yeah, man. There's also the purple one. The purple
that's still
purple
company?
innovation. think it's called.
Ooh.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
88 cents. Did they remove it? Oh no, it's just
They-
88 cents.
No, they didn't kick it yet. From 45 bucks to 88 cents. Damn, that sucks. Oh, it's back.
This have you ever seen this mattress? Looks like an egg carton.
Yeah, I think I remember seeing the commercials. Right? Yeah, it's like
Looks like an egg carton, literally.
whatever works for people. I'm just giving me an old school
Yeah,
ones that have been around forever.
MSTR hanging in there, guys. At least that's not the worst name out there.
He picked up a ton of Bitcoin recently. Yesterday, I think. A ton.
Yeah, man. They love to buy Bitcoin at the highs. Upstart. That's probably because of lending. The tree lending was the one that did really well, was it? Yeah.
JP Morgan and Coinbase to ink deal to allow users to buy crypto on credit. What could go wrong there? Buy your fart coin with your credit card. Why not? That's a very sound investment. So is that doing anything here to Coinbase? Oh, this is a very interesting chart. A nice clean pullback here on a very strong name.
It's not a bad one. One that I'm thinking about, Affirm. I'm seeing all these lending companies do really well. So Affirm has been doing pretty decent, actually. It hasn't been doing bad.
There, yeah.
I think part of this has to do with the big, beautiful bill. Remember we talked about here how it's going to allow lending to be a little loose, let's say. Why not these companies really push on the gas pedal with that, right? They've already gotten off of certain credit card rules. If you remember a couple months back, there was these rule changes that made Affirm not be kind of following like credit card rules. So there is some big room for these companies to push on their loans. So I would look at Affirm here, and it looks pretty dang bullish, man.
All I know is whenever I buy an Apple product, they're right up in my face the whole time, saying, "Hey, do you want to fund this?
Buy now, pay later.
do a little, and it's tempting." Right, the whole time value of money thing, and these are one of those. Right, even the credit, right, using the credit card to buy crypto. As much as I laugh, because it is more than a little bit ridiculous.
They're doing it though
for the right people. Right, it's one of those. If you're smart with it, I'm sure it'd be great. I'd love to be able to. Again, I'm in Canada, so I don't think these rules will apply to me. But you wake up one day and crypto is down, or Bitcoin's down like 30% or something because Sailor blew up. I would love to take. I've got probably $50,000-$60,000 limit on my credit card right now. I'd take 20-30 and throw it into and just be fine knowing that I can service that debt and move it into lower debt and whatever. So if it's a speed thing, I totally get it. It makes perfect sense to me as a speed thing, because all you're doing is you're just showing that you can get access to these things quickly. But just like anything, just like financing your MacBook on Affirm, if you're sure you can make the payments, and that might make sense to make these large purchases. You need to think of it from a time value of money point of view. I could either spend 10 grand right now, or I could spend it a little bit over time. If I'm going to, if I'm confident I'm going to be able to make more money, then I'm going to pay in interest rates, and
let's go. I'm stepping up right here, guys. I saw Ethereum make a nice little push, so I was like, you know what? Let's try to jump on that. Let's try to ride this SBET right quickly, and then just make some cash right quick. Let's see.
IWM up nearly 1%, up 0.75% on IWM today. It's a good move. A lot of it would be that we talked about how XBI was on fire. A lot of it's going to be that, but it's just weird that the interest rate sensitive thing is moving on the day that we are absolutely certain that there will be no interest rate changes.
My small cap guys, I started seeing BTBT move up, another SBET type, right? So I started looking at all of the Ethereum names. They were all looking not too bad. So I just said, you know what, with that, I gotta be able to take bets. Right now, a big seller just showed up on SBet at 220. So something just happened there. I'm guessing the seller at 220. So just be careful. Did pull back fast. Yeah, it's pulling back fast here. Just be careful out there.
Yeah, Ethereum, chop.
Chop, man. It had to break out right there. The setup's nice for it, and that's just how it is. A lot of times on these days where it's choppy, even though the setup's pretty, doesn't mean it's gonna always break, right? There's that last.
Haven't bought my first crypto yet. Yes, I'm fine. Can you recommend the best exchange? Listen, I don't like recommending anything, but I'll just tell you I use Coinbase and Kraken, and that's just because they're the biggest. They've been around the longest. I don't want to recommend anything because
there's plenty of things that have come down.
Yeah, there's a lot of bad things that have happened with exchanges. So the thing I like about Coinbase is they were so early in regulation. The guy had a premise of, I'm going to pretend I'm a bank and make sure I'm doing all the things that I would have to do if I'm a bank, even though I don't have to do them, so that when the government came after him, which they did a couple times, he was able to give every piece of paperwork, compliance, KYC, the whole nine, and did a really good job of being ahead of that curve and not being able to get stomped on because bad things were happening. So that's kind of the reason I use that. And then Kraken's for the same reason. It's been around for a long time. So now I will say, depending on what you're trying to get exposure to, I almost think, unless you're trying to do the 24-hour trading of it, or you're trying to get access to like meme coins or smaller coins, I'm almost in the camp of why not just use the ETFs, right? If you want, unless you're worried about something crashing when the market's closed, if you want to be long Bitcoin, there's a lot of exchanges, Ethereum, Solana. I think there's Ripple ETFs now. There's all these companies, like even Tron, you can get access to through a company. And the beauty of it is that you're
paid.
Nice, man. You're in an FDIC insured bank at that point, right? If you're doing it through traditional crypto exchange or traditional market exchanges. So
it just took some pay based on the attempted breakout there, guys. So it just took some off there near the 2040s. But that's just to pay myself some. Right now I'm down only 44. Got this position on, can go break even and just look for it to run. Not trying to get pretty with it today, but also giving myself the shots to get in the green, right? That's all I'm trying to do. So now I'm in a good position with good, decent sizing, already taking a little bit of some gain, and the pressure is completely off because I can't lose on the position, right?
So speaking of, right, I've chickened out of I made
Starbucks
$27 on my Starbucks. I just
go buy yourself some coffee.
Yeah, it's some, right? And not a lot at Starbucks, that's for sure.
A half a cup.
But yeah, so I bought somewhere in here. It had a nice push up, and then it just based sideways for a while. So I just raised my stop up to a profitable trade, and then I got clicked out there. So it ended up my going, but again, I stick to my plan 99% of the time, and then sometimes I want to take a speculative bet here or there for engagement, right? To make sure I'm paying attention to the market when I see these crazy moves. Again, small enough that I don't really care. So just a quick rundown on the things that I'm in. I'm still in that sleep number. That one's working out well. Just got long pretty much right off the open there, just right at 690 something. CRDF. Again, no idea what these guys are. This one hasn't really moved, but just bought this one somewhere in this area. Short OCUL. Talked about this earlier. The reason behind this one obviously not working is just this bad day it had yesterday, and then it's bouncing into that range. Short AKRO. Same idea. Had a really bad day yesterday, bouncing into the range, and then short spot for the same reason, right? Bad day yesterday, bouncing back into the range. So overall, about a break-even day. down ever so slightly across those open trades, made a little bit in the unopened trades. But again, for me, what I'm doing is I'm not even interested too much in profitability. What I want to be doing with these every night is going through the trades that were taken and journaling them. Journal your trades, everyone. And then I do a reconciliation back to the back test, right? The back test said I should have taken these, 6 trades with these entry points, these exit points, all that. And then I look at what I actually took in my journal and then, run a little reconciliation, make sure there's no differences there, because I want to make sure that my back test is marrying as close as is reasonable to reality, right?
All right, guys, SBET's still playing around here, but ETH's continuing to climb. So what I'm doing is just trying to play it, but also not getting too pretty with it. Just looking for it to continue, but I'm not going to let it get into the red. If it comes back through the 20s, then you got to let it go because the drop could be fast there, at least for myself. So we'll see what happens here. If it can hold the 90 MA, it can undercut it, go right towards my entry. So I will give it like $7 of risk, like maybe a tick or two, just to see if it comes to my entry and bounces, because the 90 MA is right above me. Spread's spreading out right there. So let's see if we get a 90 MA recovery or it cuts me out. You guys get to see it literally how I do it, right? So that blue line is that 9, right? So a lot of times we'll get a slight undercut there. So now that we push back to the 31s, I can cancel it, give it almost the don't see me look, don't know where I'm stopping out of. If it breaks that high, I can throw the stop back on. So this is when I tell you that I'm holding it. Literally clicked, held, not letting it go, but I'm clicking and I'm holding it, ready to tell it where I'm going to drop it, but not dropping it yet. So let's see if it comes back. I can drop it back to the risk. If it breaks at 2035s, I'm clear for a breakout. So let's see what happens here. If it can get through that, then I can go ahead and move up a stop towards like $40 or $50, making sure I'm paying myself along the way. We'll see what happens here.
Biotech's still real strong today. XBI has been moving nicely. So again, I'm going to keep a close eye on this. I want to get involved in this sector.
All right. At this point, we're near the high, right? So now I can go break even. Pressure's off. A lot of people feel pressure at this moment. There's no need to feel pressure, especially if you're at where I'm at, right? Like if you're long 20 cents, 25 cents away, it's about to break resistance. If anything, this is the area where you're feeling strength. This is what I mean by letting the market work for you. At this point, I did the hard work with the entry. The consolidation is staying above me. Those are all good things to see. Now will they take it and take the move, right? ETH continuing just a slow rise up, right? So that's another reason why I'm taking this bet, is the ETH chart is just a slow grind up here. I'll show you guys in a second here. ETH, why isn't it working? Doesn't like the full screen. Here, I'll just pull it from my swing account. Oh, it just broke to the upside. Just got another push there. So let's just attach this back so that I can show you that. ETH, you see that? There's that spike. So I'm even canceling my stop as I see that spike here, because I don't want it to know that I won out at 2010 if it's at the top, right? So with this expansion, I'm looking for other things to expand with it. Let's see if it starts to go. And MSTR, these Bitcoin names start to lift the market. The Qs are looking good here. Let's see if it lifts off. I'll still will get out towards that 2010 if it turns around here, but it's giving me the ability to staying in. All right, guys, 10:52 will be wrapped up soon enough. And look at that DAL. That DAL has gone nowhere all day long. Nowhere all day long. I've been like $1 up, $5 up, $5 down, that kind of thing. Look at that Ethereum breakout. That's a good one.
Dollar breaking, says.
You see that? The nice little push there.
Yeah. And it's wild that it's doing this on a dollar up day.
×2, right? That's a high day break through the pre-market.
Generally speaking, you would think if the dollar went down, Bitcoin would go up, but we're getting the dollar up ever so slightly today. UUP is down from the open, but I always take a look at DXY myself. So
All
I just
right,
want to
guys,
see
just threw out a stop there in protection of the day, right? So I talked about today was a survivor day also. It's not necessarily a gas pedal day. So I just threw out the stop there, guys, so you guys can see it. Throwing it in there, $30 up. So if it comes back on me, I'll take the $30. If not, I'll let it keep grinding and make me some money, put me in the green. I'm down 44 on the day. So I want to be smart and get back either to like 15 down on the day or in the green. I will take that any day, especially on a day like today where it was take limited shots on the, especially the risk side, right? And now try to get a little bit of my, when I got knocked on the door, little donut,
look at you.
a little Krispy Kreme action.
Jeez.
Get that glaze, boy. You guys got to get that glaze.
Need to get DoorDash or something. The wife's not here. I don't get anything. I'm starving here. I'm malnourished at this point.
Malnourished. You hear that? Knock, knock, Mrs. Nas. All right, guys, we'll be wrapping up here. It's going to be that type of day. Of course, earnings coming after the bell. Be careful out there, guys. We'll see what happens. Definitely ETH really did push there. That's what continued. SBET not looking too bad here. If it breaks the high, the 2060s, 2070s here, I'll probably look to sell into the rip there. But look at that. That's what we're talking about. So we're looking pretty good here as we start the rip. There we go. Now towards 2050. Now let's raise the stop loss to that resistance. Now 65, right? What was I down? 44. Guess what, guys? Green day, and we could get more. I did my job as a trader today, right? That's what you got to do sometimes, right? Just do your job as a trader. Do your job. Treat this as a business. Realize some days, not every day in business is a win, right? And so that's also another thing. You're having struggles on a day like today. It's common. It's not uncommon, right? So
yeah, it's the nature of the market, right? Where we have everyone's waiting on JPOW.
That money real quick. They said, "Yep, we'll take it." And it could just be a move right back down now. That's why I'm not getting pretty with it either. This is a big breakout.
It's just the chop, right? It's the way that it's going to go. Where, you better believe the big guys out there, they're in a room somewhere saying, okay, if JPOW says this, what do we program the bot to do? And if JPOW says this, what do we program the bot to do? And right, and so they're not trading right now; they're preparing because there's this big event. And at the same time, they're also saying, okay, if Microsoft reports this for earnings, what do we do? If it reports that for earnings, what do we do? A lot of planning happens on days like this, not necessarily a lot of trading. And then when the event happens, that's when the trading is going to happen. So you're going to see, again, mark my words, JPOW is going to walk off stage and the market's going to pick a direction for the day, and you're going to see that action there. Don't burn yourself out until that happens.
There you guys have it. Back above the green. Took some trades. Took it simple. Done for the day. Even if it's just a small green, believe it or not, these are days where you should be giving yourself a little pat on the back as a trader too, because
you want to survive.
That's more than fine, right? We took shots. That's what you got to do as a trader, right? You got to take shots, because if you don't take shots, you never make money at all. But it's also about knowing when it's working and when it's not. Today was one of those days where some worked, some didn't. Telling me what? Choppiness in the action, right? So, hey, I got out of that DAL. Maybe that one can start coming down now. It was looking not too bad on the downside, but I was just like, there's no point in pushing anymore. So this is still one setup that I like going into the afternoon for a short if the market could come back down, but who knows really. All right, guys, that's going to do it for us. Appreciate the love in the chat. Got to get some of the love in the chat there, and pushing forward, guys, like all you guys. And if you guys ever need to work on a certain area of your trading, let Michael and I know. We're here to help you too, right? Maybe it's some tips or maybe some things that we've gone through in the past that we can talk about that can help you get over the hurdle. right? Reach out to us. We're always willing to kind of bring new topics to the show. We're going to keep pushing into more of that systematic look going into August. So if you guys want to know what's going to happen into August, get ready, because we got a lot of systematic talk to bring up in August. So smash that like, continue right here. Subscribe, of course, if you're watching out there on X. Come over to the YouTube side. That's where the main chat and the love happens. All you guys from the YouTube chat today, like Derek and Tak, Shah, and all you others that joined us earlier today. Appreciate the love and keep pushing forward in your trading journey. See you next time, traders. Like always, we'll be back tomorrow as we get closer and closer towards August 1st, tariff deadline. Watch out, guys. Earnings tonight. That's the big boy. That's what I will be watching. And for me, it's a no bets type of night. It's more, I'll come in tomorrow and find out what happened. I don't even need to worry about what happens on the earnings tonight. But I will be looking deeper into those reports and bring you those insights tomorrow morning. Hit the like, and we'll, like always, we'll keep pushing. Trade the pool.